Kids, come away, not too close to the cars.
Aren't they lovely? Aren't they glorious?
These will be your transports for the afternoon.
No drivers.
No drivers. But they're electric. They run on this track in the middle of the roadway here. Totally non-polluting, top of the line. Spared no expense.
It's an interactive CD-ROM.
Lex, darling, you're all right in there. Dr. Sattler, come with me. Dr. Grant, come in the second car.
Hold on to your butts.
The voice you're now hearing,
A paleontologist.
we spared no expense.
Thank you again, John, for this opportunity. My name is Danny Anduza, and I am so excited to share my passion and my perspective
with you lucky folks today. Let's get right into it.
So it looks like the first dinosaur on our tour is Dilophosaurus.
And everybody loves Dilophosaurus. And not just for those signature double crests. It was also a top
Predator in the early Jurassic, the largest carnivore in its ecosystem.
As far as we know, it was also the largest theropod dinosaur to evolve up to that time.
Now, I've worked with the holotype specimen of this critter at Berkeley,
And let me tell you,
it is a truly spectacular animal. Very charismatic. But as for the one you're about to see,
I don't know if it's supposed to be a juvenile or what.
but it's very small. Its head looks all doofy. It's got some kind of
apparatus like an Australian frill-necked lizard that it doesn't make any sense.
Honestly, if you ask me, it's not nearly as cool as the real thing.
Well, hello there, everybody, and welcome back to Paleontologizing. Everybody's been having a great day today. I certainly have been. and I am really excited to share my trip to Dinosaur National Monument with you. Alright, let me make sure I've got our levels okay here.
Long, weighing 4 tons.
Turn that down a little bit.
He won a lot of arguments in his time.
I saw this Stegosaurus today, by the way. Mini Mama 99, thank you for the 7 months of support.
Been able to catch. Thanks for sharing your dino knowledge.
Of course, Mini Mama. Thank you for your ongoing support. It means a lot to me. That's the reason why I can continue to do this, is the support of wonderful viewers like you. So thank you. Anyway, for anybody who might be new here, let me introduce myself real quick. My name is Danny Anduza, and I'm a dinosaur paleontologist. I'm here on Twitch just trying to do some good old-fashioned science outreach, answering people's questions, talking about my research and the work of my colleagues, and currently I am on a multi-week, mega road trip across the American West, visiting different museums, different dinosaur fossil sites, and streaming where I can. So, yeah. And there appears to be an echo in the video. Hopefully the mic is fine, Bubsy? Am I getting an echo? Anybody? Again, I am far from home right now. This is not my normal stream setup. So yeah, and hey, Jammy Whammy Games says, it seems so amazing to watch and see the pics of the places you're visiting. Thanks, Jammy Whammy Games. It's going to be way better once I can actually live stream these places. The live stream encoder should be showing up here tomorrow. Hopefully at a decent hour. Hopefully I'm not waiting till 9 p.m. for it to show up, and then I've got to drive through the night to get to Wyoming. We'll see. But at any rate, we'll make it work. But yeah. And you loved the Dinosaur Museum the other day? Thanks, Jammy Whammy Games. Thank you very much. Yeah. It was fun until it wasn't. Until my equipment, until the encoder died on me. But getting a new one, so it should solve that problem. Anyway, today I visited Dinosaur National Monument, and since I couldn't live stream it, I took a whole bunch of photos, and we'll be going over those live on stream today. And I'll be telling you all about this, frankly, magical place. Dinosaur National Monument is one of my favorite places in the whole world, and I'll show you why. But yeah, and happiest Kali, how are you doing? Good to see you. Welcome. Now let me go to the top of chat. Yogurt Garrel, good to see you too. How you doing? Let's do some shoutouts right here at the beginning. Say hello to everybody. Claire Burr is first. How you doing, Claire? Welcome back. Maui Jaden. Hey. I think there was a little bit of a glitch with the music there. Your ears were not deceiving you. Welcome, Maui Jaden. It's good to have you here. Mini Mama, how are you? Midnight Chemistry, how are you doing? Hope your day has been good. Happiest Kali, what's shaking? And Grarg, how are you? Good to see you. Is that a dinosaur emote? Some kind of critter. I'm not sure. And the Hoff87, that's very funny. You work in a nuclear power plant? That's pretty cool. Welcome back. Good to see you here. Bubsy646, how are you doing? And Kirsten. How's it going, Kirsten? It's great to see you again. I'm glad you could join us for today. Dinosaur National Monument, I'm really excited to share this with you. It's going to be a lot of fun. And Gramps1958, welcome to Paleontologizing. It is good to see you here. I don't think I've ever seen you type in a chat before. Are you new? Welcome. It is great to have you here. I appreciate your viewership. And let's see. Tough Juice says hi. How you doing, Tough Juice? Welcome back. And new day, new backdrop. Exactly, happiest Kali. Well, same backdrop as yesterday, but well, I don't know. I'm being too literal about this. It's going to be a lot of different backdrops over the course of this trip. It's part of what's so exciting about streaming for this. But yeah. Anyway, everybody, let me go ahead and check on... I should have all of my photos uploaded at this point. My mistake yesterday, when I went to the Utah Fieldhouse Museum, was that I tried to do videos instead of photos. And that really kind of messed me up because those videos take forever to upload from my phone to Google Photos, especially with how slow the internet here is in eastern Utah. So yeah, today, just photos. Well, maybe I'll have to be a little bit more animated to make that a little bit more interesting for you. But let's go ahead and get into it without further ado. And Alpha Zulu Mike India says, hello, how you doing, Alpha? Welcome back. Yeah. And Tough Juice, have I heard anything about The Rise and Fall of the Dinosaurs by Steve Brusatte? I think I've met Steve Brusatte a couple of times. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. It's a book, it's in wide circulation. I don't really know anything about it apart from that. Yeah, I haven't read it. I'm careful about doing stuff like that. I don't often like to read popular science dinosaur books because A, there's other things that I should be reading, honestly. I have limited time, and so it's like I better focus on things I don't know a lot about. But B, more importantly, is that I don't want to accidentally steal anybody's turns of phrase or ideas or anything, you know? And it's way too easy to do that if you're reading other people's books. So yeah, as a science communicator, as somebody who talks about fossils all the time, I don't want to accidentally, repeat anybody's turns of phrase when I'm talking about dinosaurs, So yeah, that's why I've steered clear of it so far. But yeah. And you can take screenshots of the videos if you need. This is true, Jamie Wayman. This is true, yeah. And let's see. And Mini Mama says, how do you get alerts about wildfires if you don't have any cell signal? I have had cell signal so far. It's been pretty good. And also, I have not seen any trace of any wildfires so far. Again, the American West is a huge place. I drove all the way from Oakland through Nevada and now into eastern Utah. What is that, like, it's probably about 1,400 miles? It's big out here. And I think most of the wildfires that are raging are north of me. Places like Washington, Montana, Idaho. Yeah. But I do have a weather radio that should give me information about wildfires as well. And I do use that in the car sometimes. Especially in remote areas where I don't get cell signal, a weather radio is great for that kind of thing. So, yeah. And Patchwork Pirate says, brain numb. Too much lab work today. I'm sorry, Patchwork. I'm glad you're here, though. I hope you're ready to kick back and relax and look at some photos of Dinosaur National Monument and talk about why this is such a special place. But yeah, and yeah, Hotel Stream Show and Tell, Alex. How you doing? Again, I would have done a live stream from Dinosaur National Monument today, but my stream encoder overheated and died on Saturday. And I've got a new one showing up tomorrow. Or at least the tracking says it's showing up tomorrow. If it's not, that's really going to mess up my trip. But yeah. So I should be getting back to live streams from museums very soon. Hopefully Thursday. But yeah. So for today, I just took a bunch of photos on my trip, and then we're going to go over those live on stream. So yeah. When the team is in the field, how will they get evacuation notes? There you go, Mini Mama, yeah. Weather radio. Yeah. Yeah. Anywho, let's go ahead and get into this. Of course, Chroma's gonna be buggy again. Here we go. There we are. All right. Let's get to it. So, again, I went to Dinosaur National Monument today, which was a ton of fun, and I'm really excited to share that with you. Took some photos along the way. That's from yesterday. So I got there, I left Vernal, Utah this morning around, I don't know what time. I must have left around 9:30. Got there before 10. And it was already pretty crowded, which I think is a really good thing. Whenever I'm going to a place like this as a visitor, I kind of like to be there when there's a lot of other people there. Sometimes at least, because I get to hear conversations that people are having. I get to see where crowds gather. Which things are most interesting to different people. Like, if I can't be behind the scenes, I might as well be in the middle of a crowd, kind of looking at what people are interested in. Because I'm as much interested in seeing people's reactions to things and seeing how the general public interacts with all of the displays as I am looking at the actual displays, especially since I've been in most of these museums before. But, yeah. Just outside Dinosaur National Monument, there was this great big sauropod, and I had to take some pictures of it. There it is right there. And just like less than 100 meters away from that is the entrance to Dinosaur National Monument. I took some photos for Twitter there. And yeah. And there's my trusty vehicle. My 2008 Toyota Prius that I have modified for fieldwork. So, yeah. And then upon arrival at Dinosaur National Monument, I saw this Stegosaurus. I have seen the Stegosaurus many times before. It is actually one of the dinosaurs from, is it the 1964 World's Fair? Yeah. Claire versus Nice Rack on the car. Yeah, thank you, Claire. Lucky they have that fenced in. Exactly, happiest Kali. You don't want this old girl getting out. But yeah, this is the same Stegosaurus that you saw in the notification just a few minutes ago when Mini Mama resubscribed. That is the same exact Stegosaurus. It is what, like 60 years old now at this point, almost? But produced for the 1964 World's Fair. In fact, let me see if I can find that real quick. Sinclair Dino Land. I'll skip to the to that exact moment in this. Where is it? All right, Tyrannosaurus, Triceratops, Ankylosaurus. Here we go. I don't know how exactly this dinosaur made it to all the way to Dinosaur National Monument, but it did. Hang on, I'll pause our tunes. And, yeah.
Stegosaurus.
There you go.
25 feet long, weighing 4 tons. A versatile sort of chap. He won a lot of arguments in his time, but very few beauty contests.
No, who would say that? My goodness, what a beautiful animal. Tisk, tisk. It's the same face as Spike from The Land Before Time says Obsidian's Fire? I guess so, yeah. Pretty,
Dino Land is so popular with so many fair visitors.
Anywho, yeah. And let me actually show you. Go and find a photo of me from a long time ago. From 2014, the first time I ever got to visit Dinosaur National Monument. And, let's see here. Which album would that be in? But back then, the Stegosaurus had a different color scheme. And, very, very different. Let me show you. Find this photo. Hang on just a minute. I should have it in this folder here. Right? There we go. So yeah, this is a younger Danny right here. Next to this same Stegosaurus. It gets a new color scheme, a new paint scheme every few years. And so this is back in 2014. That's back before I had a beard full time. Yeah. Let me scoot that over so you can see. This is when I was at the Mid-Mesozoic Field Conference. This group of paleontologists all got together and visited a bunch of museums and field sites, and then we gave presentations and talks and posters and stuff. It is the best conference I have ever been to. And during that, we jumped across the border between Utah and Colorado a bunch of times, visiting a bunch of different museums in this area. It was really awesome. So it's cool to be able to revisit some of those places that I saw back then for the first time, to see them again now. And rather than being in a group, I'm by myself, but there's still like that kind of social aspect because I get to share it with you. I think that's pretty neat. Yeah. And I have some other photos of the Stegosaurus here from, there we are. There we go. It is a beautiful, like, a really beautiful reconstruction. Even if it is way out of date, we now know Stegosaurus looked very different from this. It's still really cool to be able to see. And there's me right there. I think I shared this photo to Twitter or Instagram or somewhere. But, yeah, there's a few there. And this is a much more kind of up-to-date reconstruction of Stegosaurus. Let's see if I can get this to... If I open a new tab, maybe I can zoom in. There we go. Google Chrome is being a little bit weird right now. But yeah, this is a much more accurate, much more modern-day reconstruction of Stegosaurus. Much more svelte, not as stocky and kind of slow-looking as it was portrayed back in the 1960s. Yeah, a much more kind of upright, alert, quick animal than we thought back then. Yeah. In Javasaurus Studios, did you change your username? Welcome back. It's good to see you. Yeah. Yeah. Probably the most beautiful retro stegosaur I know. I know, right, Hyro? It's very charming. It's got a very nice look about it. This Stegosaurus right here. Yeah. Anyway, let me jump back to the sequence of photos that we're supposed to be in. And you know what? I think I can just do... Let's see here. There we go. So when you get to Dinosaur National Monument, they have the main visitor center there. Which, you know, they have the gift shop and like a ranger station and that kind of thing right outside the parking lot. And you wait for a little tram that takes you up the hill to the Quarry Visitor Center, where they've got the big fossil wall right there. That's really the main attraction at Dinosaur National Monument. There are a zillion other awesome things to do. There's rafting and swimming, and there's rivers and hikes and horseback riding and all kinds of incredible stuff there. But because it is just this great big park that's been set aside to kind of preserve the natural beauty of this area. But the whole raison d'etre of Dinosaur National Monument is to preserve that fossil wall, which is what I'm going to be showing you. But I thought this was really cool, right at the beginning. So this is a sign that I snapped a picture of. Like as you're waiting for the tram, they have this there. Remains of Stegosaurus and dinosaur captured by Professor in good condition. But yeah. The dinosaur at the Douglas Quarry is looming up in good shape. In fact, it is nothing less than wonderful that such animals can be found after the countless ages. So yeah, Dinosaur National Monument, the actual like fossil wall there was discovered, I think in 1909 by a paleontologist named Earl Douglas. And he recognized that this was really, really special, and he petitioned the government to set aside this land to protect it for future generations. He really wanted regular people to be able to come by and see these fossils there in the ground. He thought that was really important. And I couldn't agree with him more. I mean, it is such a special place. Okay, and let's see, already saw that. We've got to go in this direction. Here is that tram right there that takes you up to the top. And then I'll show you some actual photos of the whole visitor center afterward. But this is the fossil wall. I wish I could capture in a photograph how vast this is. This is a building that's about the size of a football field. It's really big. It's got to be probably 100 meters long, at least, I would think. Maybe twice as big. I'm not actually sure. At any rate, it is huge, and there are 2 stories from which you can gaze at the fossil wall right there. Nanotyrannus. Nanotyrannus says, with regard to the Stegosaurus, Danny, when you were 2 years old, you called this a Picasaurus because of the points. Right, pica is like a Puerto Rican Spanish word for like spicy or pointy or pokey. Pica, because these guys do have those tail spines at the end of the tail. We'll talk about that in a minute. Welcome, Nanotyrannus. Hope you're having a good day. But yeah, here is this fossil wall. So, in this place, there are something like 500 different dinosaurs that all got preserved in one spot. It's still maybe a little bit of a mystery how they all came to be in the same place, but the prevailing hypothesis is that this is a floodplain where, all these animals were walking around doing their thing, and then there was a massive, massive drought, and the river that normally flowed through the area completely dried up, and a lot of these animals died from the drought and the resulting famine from the drought. And then later, when the rains finally came, they, all of these bones got buried there in place and all jumbled up together. Some of the stuff is semi-articulated, but for the most part, everything is just scattered like a bunch of pickup sticks all over the place. And Happy's calling, there you go. And Claire Bruce says, this is the monument? Yeah, this is at Dinosaur National Monument. So here's just some close-ups of all of these fossil bones there. You can see right here we've got an articulated series of caudal vertebrae. This is from the tail right there. Man, I gotta... Hang on a minute. Let me turn off this browser extension, because this might really mess us up for a second here. My zoom view thing is not going to be advantageous for this particular stream. No mouse wheel zoom, and we'll disable that for right now. There we go. And oh, that didn't work. All right, let me try this again, everybody. Hang on just a minute. Extensions updated. I think I might have to restart. Do I have to restart Chrome to get this to update? Shoot. Hang on just a minute, everybody. Gotta close that. And then open up back Chrome. Hang tight, everyone. I appreciate your patience while I'm working on this. Again, being far from home right now and not with my usual streaming setup, a lot of this stuff is going to be... I'm kind of flying by the seat of our pants here. Alright, I've got the captions restarted again. And let's get back to that photo. It's still doing that! Shoot. I might have to just restart my computer. But anyway. Man, that is frustrating. Settings. Extensions. Yeah, I don't know why it's doing that. Oh, hover zoom, that's it. Hang on. I've got 2 different extensions that do the same thing. Okay, we got it. We got it. All right, everybody. Thank you for your patience. Now, let's get Chrome working again. There we are. All right. So yeah, you've got this wonderful series of articulated vertebrae right here. These are caudal vertebrae from a sauropod dinosaur, from one of these long-necked plant-eating dinosaurs. You've got a bunch of other bits and pieces here. You might be able to recognize some of these bones just right off the bat. We've got a rib right here. We've got some limb bones there. Got very nice... That's got to be a humerus right there. Unless it's a really short femur. Anyway, we'll take a look at some of these more up close in a minute. But I want to talk about some other stuff first. We'll go past these photos. This actually gives you a good sense for how big this is. So I'm standing on the upper floor right here. That's the lower floor down there. And there's a person standing right there, I think. So yeah, this is a big place. It is very cool. And take a look at that. This is a Camarasaurus skull right here, with those vertebrae going up there. We've got most of an articulated skeleton of a Camarasaurus right here at the top of the wall. You've got a hind limb right here. I think this is also from Camarasaurus. And there is the skull. And I took a close-up right there. This is one of the most charismatic things that you can see on the wall. It is pretty cool. Yeah. There is the orbit right there, the eye socket. You can see those teeth. Upper jaw, lower jaw. You can see the cursor right now, right? And, is that the occipital condyle right there in the back? I think it is. Very, very cool. And, yeah, there's the nares. This is the... Oh, actually, that should be right there. That's the nostril. But really, really cool. It's, again, extraordinarily rare to find sauropod skulls. I know we've talked about that a lot on this channel. How uncommon it is to find any of the head bones of these big, long-necked, plant-eating dinosaurs. And here we have one right there. Let me show you a little what this creature would look like in life. And let me see if I can find the same illustrations that they have at Dinosaur National Monument. Bob Walters... Camarasaurus. Bob Walters did a bunch of work for... there it is right there, yeah. Very, very cool. Why? Wait, I thought I turned hover zoom off. Anyway. Big, beautiful sauropod dinosaur. This is the most common dinosaur on the fossil wall. And I think it's the most common sauropod dinosaur from the Morrison Formation. Again, all of these fossils that you see in the wall, all of these are about 149 million years old. They are from the late Jurassic period, back when this was just an enormous floodplain, and you had all kinds of really cool dinosaurs walking around. Stegosaurus, Camarasaurus, Apatosaurus, Diplodocus, Allosaurus, Ceratosaurus, Torvosaurus, Camptosaurus. And we're going to see a bunch of those very shortly here. And Maastrichtian says, hey, Danny, want to get back there someday? It is very, very cool, Maastrichtian. Yeah, yeah. And Belint, hey, enjoyed your Twitter day? I saw, thank you for all the likes there, Belint. Really appreciate that. This was a really awesome day. I felt really, really lucky to be able to go there and spend some time. And I met some cool people, too. So I'm excited to tell you about that in a little bit. Yeah. And Aditya, how are you doing, Aditya? Welcome back. Good to see you. Yeah. And my name is me, okay? Says, okay, thanks. Hello, my name is me, okay? And welcome to Paleontologizing. It's good to have you here. You've come at kind of a weird time. I'm on a big road trip across the western U.S. right now. And so, this is not like a typical Paleontologizing stream. Yeah, I don't normally stream from in a hotel. You can check out my VODs if you want to see some of my more regular streams. But yeah, this is a really exciting summer for me because I'm streaming from all over the place, and it's been really cool so far. But yeah, anywho, let's get back to the photos that I took today at Dinosaur National Monument. Beautiful Camarasaurus skull. And they've got some cool displays here. So the thing about the quarry wall at Dinosaur National Monument is that there's basically... It's like 3 or 4 feet thick, it seems. Like, over a meter thick of dinosaur bones just on the side of this wall. Of course, it all used to be flat, but it's been tilted up through orogeny over the years. Through the same mountain building forces that, you know, rose up the Rocky Mountains. Also tilted these beds. So what used to be flat is now way up like that. This wall right here all used to be flat. This used to be like a riverbed. And one of the really interesting things about this is that almost all of the dinosaur bones that you find along this wall are large. There aren't very many bones of small dinosaurs, and there's almost no bones of other creatures other than dinosaurs. The Morrison Formation was home to a lot of different critters. You know, not just dinosaurs, but crocodiles and lizards and mammals and maybe some primitive birds. And invertebrates and lots and lots of plants, too. You don't find hardly any of that stuff here on this wall. And it seems to be a size sorting thing. So, because this was a river, it seems like most of the smaller stuff got swept away. There was enough energy in this fluvial system, like it was a powerful enough river, especially at this particular point, that like anything smaller got washed downstream. Only the big stuff that was heavy enough to settle down actually stayed put. These are really important things to take into consideration when you're looking at any kind of fossil assemblage. You've got to figure out, like, what are the depositional forces at play here? Is it really that there weren't any small creatures living in this environment, or is it just that they didn't get preserved here for some reason? Oh, yeah. Imagine the amazing foliage growth rates? Yes, Mr. Ichthian. Yes. But that's not a riverbed, it's a mountain, says DFW. It used to be a riverbed. That's the thing. That's the wonders of geology. I mean, that's the cool thing about studying geology is you realize how temporary any given thing might be. The fact that there's... What was that song? There's a song from the 1960s. I can't play it here on stream or I'd get a DMCA violation, I'm sure. It's kind of like a hippy-dippy song. It's like first there is a mountain, then there is no mountain, then there is... Keeps going like that. That's geology. That's how these things work. Mountains rise and then they get eroded. Like things that used to be riverbeds, you know, get pushed up through orogeny and then they flatten out again. And the Earth is like it's like a living thing almost. It's a very dynamic place, planet Earth. Stuff's always changing. As human beings, we don't always recognize that because our lives are very short compared to the vast history of the Earth. But occasionally you do see glimpses of that in landslides or earthquakes or volcanic eruptions. But there are forces that move a lot more slowly than that are always at work, always changing, churning things all the time. And this is kind of a wonderful example of that. And speaking of which, there are actually... I wonder if any of them are in these photos. I think you can just barely see right there. See, there's like a black cable that's running along here. And there's another little thing right there, little like man-made device. I saw these on there, and I'm like, oh, those must be air scribes. Like paleontologists or preparators would climb up on there and be like prepping out these fossils. Because it really did look like an air scribe, like one of the little pneumatic tools that we use in order to chip away all the rock from the surrounding the fossil in order to clean it and study it. And so I was talking to one of the rangers there, and I said to him, like, oh, it looks like you've got air scribes up there. And he says, no, those aren't air scribes. Those are a measurement device. Apparently there were some PhD students who came here, and they wanted to study the growth of the cracks in the fossil wall. Because again, this is a dynamic system. It's always changing bit by little bit. And there are some cracks that you can see running up this wall. They wanted to track how quickly those cracks are widening. And so they've got these really precise devices in there to do that. So it's an ongoing project, and hopefully they'll be able to accrue some good data there. Yeah. And St. Louis Mo, I don't think it was Harry Belafonte. I know that song. It's a different one, I think. Isn't it? I think it's a different song. And who was that? Hang on a minute. Thank you for the raid there. Holy cow. 53 raiders with Raven Alternative. Hey. Welcome to Paleontologizing, everybody. It is so great to see you here. Hey. Raven Alternative, how was your stream? I hope it was really excellent. And Raiders, I hope you stick around. My name is Danny Anduza. I'm a dinosaur paleontologist. And this is not normally where I stream from. I'm currently on a big cross-country road trip, visiting different museums and field sites all across the American West. And thank you, Face Yours, and thank you, Nico Cat, for the follows.
A real mean kid.
I appreciate that.
With 6-inch daggers for teeth, he was the terror of
Today,
the
I visited Dinosaur National Monument in just outside of Jensen, Utah. And Lamiller Bone, hey, welcome to Paleontologizing. Thanks for the follow. And Tears of Lock, thank you for the follow. Welcome. Anyway, I was hoping to live stream from there today, but my live stream rig died on me earlier this week, and I'm waiting on a replacement part. So I just took a bunch of photos today during my visit, and I'm sharing them with you and kind of talking you through it. So think of it as like a hybrid between a slideshow and a live stream, I guess. Yeah. But I had an awesome time today, and really eager to share that with you. And Max180 AD, thank you for the follow. Welcome to Paleontologizing. Yeah. And Raven Alternative said, sorry I was late. What do you mean? You're here right on time, Raven. Thank you again for the raid. This is awesome. And there you go, Claire. That's it. Donovan, There Is a Mountain. That's the song I was thinking of. Yeah. But Sandreamer99, hello to you. Welcome to Paleontologizing. Random Bug UK, how are you doing? Thanks for joining us.
But the paleontology field isn't narrow to what we understand. On the
Raven Alternative.
We stretch our understanding to try and take in the universe.
Thank you for the follow. Welcome. And Lamiller Bone, you're an osteologist. Super cool. You are really going to enjoy this stream then, because we are talking dinosaur bones. So Dinosaur National Monument is this incredible place where there's this enormous wall of dinosaur bones, all scattered around, all kept in situ. It is open to the public as a national monument. There's a bunch of rangers there to answer people's questions and stuff. There's interpretive signs. There's everything you could need in order to be able to really appreciate what's going on there. It's really awesome, I think, what they've done with this to turn it into like a science education opportunity. So we'll be identifying a bunch of different dinosaur bones on stream in a little bit. But first I wanted to walk everybody through what I saw today and why I thought it was so cool. Yeah, Random Bug UK says, question, could Jurassic Park actually happen? Not in the way it did in the movie, like taking DNA from mosquitoes. DNA doesn't last millions upon millions of years, unfortunately. But there is an ongoing project to try and, in a manner of speaking, resurrect a dinosaur by taking a chicken, kind of back engineering it into one of its dinosaurian ancestors, kind of. I'm grossly oversimplifying it, but if you're curious about this, Google the Dino Chicken Project with Jack Horner and Dana Rashid, and yeah. Anyway, and Tears of Lock says, question, why is monkey the best animal? I don't know if I accept the premise of your question there. I might be of the opinion that dinosaur is the best animal. And maybe I'll convince you by the end of this broadcast. Anyway, huge rock wall here, just swimming with dinosaur fossils. This is really cool to see. And there's that Camarasaurus skull that we were going over earlier. Very neat. And then, thank you for the follow, whoever that was. Appreciate it. But yeah, here's some interpretive signs talking about the different fossils that have been excavated from this quarry and then taken to different places around the country. Where did all the bones go? Some of them are at the Smithsonian Institution in Washington, D.C. Some of them are in other places on the East Coast. One of them is in Denver, Colorado. One of them, or several of them actually, are right here in Vernal, Utah, where I am right now. Yeah, Carnegie Museum in Pittsburgh, Allosaurus and Camptosaurus, Diplodocus went to Denver. Yeah. At the Nebraska State Museum in Lincoln, they've got a Stegosaurus from this quarry. Yeah, very cool. There's an Apatosaurus, formerly known as a Brontosaurus, at the museum in Pittsburgh. So dinosaurs from this quarry have gone all over the country. But thankfully, there are still some left there in this quarry wall for visitors to be able to see. I think that is critically important, and I'll talk about why in just a little bit. But look at all of these all around the world. New York, Washington, D.C., Pittsburgh. And here's some displays I took pictures of. This I thought was really cool. Those legs that you see right there are the ranger guy that I talked to, who was telling me about the measuring devices that are on the wall. But there are these beautiful fleshed out little models of some of the dinosaurs that are represented up there on the wall. Everything from Camarasaurus right here, the most common of these dinosaurs, to one of everybody's favorites, Stegosaurus. Can I see some Stegosaurs in the chat from the subscribers? And yeah, Allosaurus right here. This is the most common big meat-eating dinosaur from this geologic formation. And there's Apatosaurus over here, who is so long that his head doesn't even fit in the shot. Yeah, and here is a National Park Service ranger wearing that little campaign hat, the Smokey the Bear hat, for scale. And there's Dryosaurus right there. Dryosaurus, truly the king of the dinosaurs. But yeah. So I could go into detail about some of these signs, but I don't know. If you really want to, you can go and find these in the VOD, and you can pause it and read them. But yeah. The signage here was really thoughtfully done, and I appreciate that a lot. Yeah. And we need a banana for true scale random bug. There you go. It would be very small in that display. Yeah, like as I was saying before, Earl Douglas, who was a kind of visionary paleontologist back in the early 1900s, it was his idea to turn this into, protected lands, like a protected attraction, so that, people from across the country could come and see these dinosaurs there in the ground. Oh, and here, does anybody recognize this skull? Longtime viewers will recognize this as the Camarasaurus skull that I have behind my desk in my office. This is part of my background every time I stream from home. But I have a 3D print that I printed that is based on this skull. Very cool. This one right here is a cast. This is not the actual fossil. But this specimen was dug up from the quarry wall. I think from the top right corner of the wall. And now these original bones are in the Carnegie Museum in Pittsburgh on the east coast of the United States. But they have a lovely cast of it here at Dinosaur National Monument. This is a juvenile Camarasaurus, by the way. So this is a very young animal. This is probably just a few years old. I don't think we have a good sense for how old it was in terms of exact age, how old it was when it died. I would love to be able to figure that out. To be able to have some histologists take a look. You know, section the bones, count the growth rings, and figure out exactly how old this critter was when it died. And that is an herbivore obsidian spire, yes. Yeah. Oh, and Tears of Flock says, what is the coolest dinosaur I've ever worked with? Shoot, that's a great question. I've been lucky enough to work with some very cool specimens. There's Chomper Rex, which was the world's smallest and youngest Tyrannosaurus Rex. It's currently housed at, I think it's actually on loan to the Badlands Dinosaur Museum in North Dakota, but it's from Museum of the Rockies. It's where I used to work, in Bozeman, Montana. And then also in Bozeman, at that museum, is Yoshi's trike, which is this really big, well, it's the Triceratops that has the longest brow horns of any Triceratops in the world. I'll find you a photo. Here we go. There it is there. Good old Yoshi's trike. And I'm actually going to be streaming, hopefully, from Museum of the Rockies. In just about a week or so. In fact, there's me. Back in, what is this? Probably 2013? Before I had a beard full time. I used to only grow a beard out during the summers when I would do fieldwork. But yeah, this is when this display was being built. This is a cast of Yoshi's trike's skull. And yeah, those horns are incredibly long. So yeah, this is a now iconic Triceratops. So iconic that you can actually buy a plastic model of it, produced by a company called Eofauna. I have one of these at home, and it is really cool. Yeah, just an awesome animal. So I was on the crew that dug up Yoshi's trike back in 2011. We dug up its postcrania, so everything from the head on back, including some skull pieces too. We had some skull bits. So really important specimen. It might actually prove to be an intermediate species between Triceratops horridus at the bottom of the Hell Creek Formation and Triceratops prorsus at the top of the Hell Creek Formation. So it's kind of a, for lack of a better term, it's a transitional form between these two different species of Triceratops. Pretty important specimen, for sure. So yeah. And let's see. Is there any controversy regarding the Triceratops? Maurizio. Of course there is. Oh, man. One of the biggest controversies about Triceratops right now is probably whether Torosaurus is actually the same thing as Triceratops. In my humble point of view, it is. Triceratops and Torosaurus are the same animal, I think. The hypothesis goes that Torosaurus is just the fully mature version of Triceratops. It is like once Triceratops became fully mature, then their frills fenestrated. You've got these big holes that form in between the parietal and the squamosal bone. And I'll show you. Let's see. Here we go. There we are. Triceratops and Torosaurus right here. So these are basically the only real significant difference between them is that Torosaurus has these holes in its frill and Triceratops does not. So the hypothesis is that when Triceratops becomes fully mature, its frill becomes thinner and thinner and thinner in the middle parts until the bone just kind of gets eaten away, almost like osteoporosis or something like that. It's unusual because we don't see a lot of modern animals doing this, but the modern animals we look at are all mammals. Mammals are very different from dinosaurs. They're very different in the way that they grow, they're different in terms of their metabolism, and just the way that their bodies work. So yeah. The museum I used to work at, Museum of the Rockies, has the world's largest collection of Triceratops. And also the world's largest collection of Torosaurus, too. And, yeah, they very well might have some that are in between these. where you can't really even tell if they're Torosaurus or Triceratops. But yeah. Don't tell anybody I told you that, though. Yeah. Anyway. And Hyro says the Toroceratops idea is, for me, the only one of these hypotheses that holds little ground. I wish I could show you some of these specimens, Hyro. I really wish I could. Oh, man. I can't talk about that too much because there's some people who are sitting on some data. And once they get that published, I think it's just going to close the book on this forever. It'll be a done deal. Yeah. Anyway. And I've dug up both of those before. I've dug up a bunch of Triceratops and a few Torosaurus, too. And, yeah, really the only difference is that Torosaurus is always super mature in the Hell Creek Formation. And, yeah. We've never found a juvenile Torosaurus in the Hell Creek. And that should tell you something, I think. Yeah. How long did Triceratops usually live? 30 to 50 years? Probably less than that, Hatchy, yeah. Welcome to Paleontologizing, by the way. Most dinosaurs don't seem to have lived all that long. I want to say the oldest, like the most mature dinosaur that we have was like in its 40s when it died. Ones that have actually been, you know, where we can determine their age at death. Yeah. I don't know what the oldest Triceratops we have is that has an EFS. But you can tell how old these animals were by cutting open their limb bones. And then, I'm grossly oversimplifying here, but you count the growth rings in the bone in order to determine how old they were when they died. And if they are fully mature, they'll have what we call an EFS, an external fundamental signature, which is like where the growth rings get so close to each other that they basically become like a solid line, just like they all kind of morph together. So yeah, when something has an EFS, it can be a little bit more difficult to determine exactly how old it was when it died. But yeah, Triceratops, I doubt that any of the ones that we have are any older than like 30 years old when they died. It's difficult. I gotta come up with a better way to talk about this, because when we're talking about dinosaur ages, you could be talking about how old the animals were when they died, like how mature they were. Or you could be talking about how far back in time they are, how old they are. And Triceratops go from about 66 million years ago to maybe 69 million years ago. If you go older than the Hell Creek Formation. But anyway, that's a discussion for another time. And Sophia PX, hey! Thank you for the follow. Welcome to Paleontologizing. It's good to have you here. I met somebody named Sophia today. This is not the same Sophia, is she? But yeah. And Obsidians. Oh, goodness. Can't take you anywhere, Obsidian's fire. Yeah. And Mistrictian, yeah, the Torosaurus would be the name that gets thrown out in that case. Triceratops would be the name that we keep. But yeah. And Hyro says there are some new histological methods that determine the maturity of fossil animals. I would like to see those used on some of these. Hyro, I think those were pioneered on Triceratops, if you're thinking of the same ones I'm thinking of. Yeah. It turns out, like, skull fusion and stuff like that is completely unreliable for use on dinosaurs. It just does not work. Yeah, you've got to do... Usually the tibia is the best bone to sample because it has the least amount of remodeling as the animal grows and matures. Yeah. And Dank Cheez-It says, so those long necks have a chance to be just babies on supermassive growth steroids? What do you mean, Dank Cheez-Its? I mean, we do have dinosaurs that were skeletally mature. And it's not like dinosaurs just keep growing and growing and growing forever until they die. Like, they do level off. Yeah. You're still bitter about losing Brontosaurus as a name? Yeah, sorry, Mr. Ichthion. People were trying to bring it back for a while, but I don't think they've got a leg to stand on. They have to not slow down during growing. So much true for trike. Well, Javasaurus, I mean, that's the thing, is we don't have to speculate. We can see how fast they were growing. That's what histology is all about, you know? We can basically watch that in their bones. So yeah. And Tears of Lux says, is there any reason why their lifespans were so short relative to other reptiles? A lot of it probably has to do with metabolism. Dinosaurs were not like modern reptiles in the sense that modern reptiles, for the most part, they're ectothermic, cold-blooded. They get, like, their body temperature will match the ambient temperature. That's why lizards and snakes have to sit on warm rocks in order to warm up their bodies in the morning. Creatures like mammals, like us, or like birds, can generate their own body heat. Dinosaurs did the same thing, as far as we can tell. And thank you, Pub Grizzly. I appreciate the follow. Welcome to Paleontologizing. But yeah. And cool, Obsidian's Fire. U of M. Which M is that? Is that Montana? Or is that Minnesota? Yeah. And Chef Thomas wants to know, so with how big and heavy some dinosaurs got, would seeing how worn down the bones were be a good way of determining age? That's a great question. We didn't come here to fight with monsters. We came here to find fossils. And let's see. Comic Age Clothing and Timber86SS, thank you for the follows. Welcome to Paleontologizing. Yeah, I mean, the bones you do get muscle scars that show on them after a while, but that's not a great way to determine age. I mean, you can say, sure, this animal had been around for a long time, but that's not nearly as precise as, like, cutting the bones open and counting the growth rings, like you do when you're doing a histo sample, you know? Yeah. And, Dank Cheez-Its, I'm glad you like the new notifications. Yeah. I was working on them for a long time, and I've only put about half of them in there. I still have a bunch in the hopper that I need to put into the system. It takes a long time to do that. It's a lot of work. But yeah. Oh, Michigan Obsidian's Fire. Okay. They have the best dino exhibits in the state. I don't think I'm going to make it as far east as Michigan this summer, but that's good to know. That's good to know. And Cooking with Lordy, holy cow, thank you for the raid. Welcome, Raiders. Lordy, how was your stream? I hope it was really, really good. Welcome back to Paleontologizing. It's good to have you here. Yeah. Everybody, please give Cooking with Lordy a follow if you've not done so yet, because it looks like in just a week and a bit, Lordy's actually going to be flying out to meet me, and then we're going to be doing the second half of my road trip together. So we're going to be streaming all the while. It's going to be really cool. We'll be doing some streams on my channel. We might be doing some streams on her channel too. So if you want to listen to me yammer on about dinosaurs even more, then you should give her a follow, because I do show up on her channel with some regularity. So yeah. And Heike Hound, hey, hello to you. How are you doing? Welcome to Paleontologizing. Yeah. You got enough Avarice Claire. How are you doing, Avarice? Good to see you. Yeah. And Mr. Ictian says, so Danny, do they still have an outdoor trail there, going to various life-size or close to it statues? They've got one life-size statue there, which here, I'll show you again. We were talking about this earlier on the stream. Let me get rid of these tabs. And then, where's my Stegosaurus? Let's see here. There we are. All right. Yeah, Stegosaurus right here. They do have this one. This is the only one there, though. You might be thinking of a nearby attraction in Vernal, Utah, the Utah Fieldhouse Museum, which has a bunch of dinosaurs, like statues from the 1970s. This one's even older. This is from the 1964 World's Fair. And you might even see it pop up in one of my notifications. Yeah. So anyway, with that, let me get back to the photos here, and I can show you some of the cool stuff that I got to explore today. Where were we? Yeah, we were talking about this juvenile Camarasaurus skeleton. And that's what got us talking about dinosaur ontogeny and that kind of thing. Yeah, this I found really inspiring. This is on one of the plaques there. And this is Earl Douglas, who helped establish Dinosaur National Monument. And he says, I hope that the government, for the benefit of science and the people, will uncover a large area, leave the bones and skeletons in relief, and house them in. It would make one of the most astounding and instructive sights imaginable. Earl Douglas, 1923 letter to the Secretary of the Smithsonian Institution. So this paleontologist, Earl Douglas, who discovered the site in the first place, he really worked hard to make sure that this would be preserved for future generations. And it's thanks to his tireless efforts that we have Dinosaur National Monument today. His tireless efforts and the tireless efforts of hundreds of other people, including the people who maintain this beautiful site to this very day. I met some really cool rangers there. Shout out to Tiff there at Dinosaur National Monument. I assume that's short for Tiffany. Just said Tiff on her name badge. But she, talked with me for a long time. It was really cool to be able to sit there and just kind of like shoot the breeze with a park ranger at Dinosaur National Monument. Ask her about her experiences there. Ask her about the most frequent questions that she gets from visitors. And yeah, just, kind of like finding some common ground there, where she answers questions about dinosaurs all day. And I do that too here on stream. So it was fun to kind of compare notes like that with somebody who, to a certain extent, does the same thing that I do. Yeah. And, oh, and very cool, Timber86. You're an amateur paleontologist who's on the news? Very cool, Timber. Let's see. Virginia's first dinosaur bones. That is really neat. Wow, shout out to you. That's pretty cool. Awesome. I'm so glad you're here at my channel. Welcome to Paleontologizing. Small world. And Earl Douglas, he was at the Carnegie Museum. That makes sense, Timber, yeah. In fact, that checks out, yeah. And a lot of the fossils from Dinosaur National Monument ended up at the Carnegie Museum. Yeah, like, how did dinosaurs get from eastern Utah to Pittsburgh? Well, that's why, yeah. But yeah. So, let's get back to this. Again, I couldn't live stream from there today, so I took a bunch of photos, and that's what I'm sharing with you now. Protecting the quarry, an unfolding story. This is really cool. Photos from 1909, 1958 had this very kind of like, a very 50s kind of architecture there. And then in 2006, there were some cracks that were actually forming in the facade, so they had to shut everything down in 2006, and then shore up the building, make sure it wasn't going to collapse. And luckily, it reopened in 2011. You can go see it today. It's a beautiful, very modern facility. And here's the quarry exhibit hall. That's where Douglas found the first fossils. This is basically on the side of, I guess on the East Coast, you might call it a mountain. But here in the Rocky Mountain region, you'd call it a hill. But yeah. So all this red part here is the part that is enclosed by the building now. We've got these photos here. These displays were really neat. But I'm going to skip them for just a minute to give you some context. Here on the wall, if you were standing here looking at this, your back would be to the quarry wall, and you'd be on the bottom floor. But there's this wonderful mural by Bob Walters here of this big floodplain environment with all of these critters walking around doing their thing. Everything from Diplodocus to Camptosaurus to Stegosaurus to Camarasaurus. And some non-dinosaurs too, like these pterosaurs and these crocodilians. Yeah. And then big skeleton of Allosaurus, but we'll get to him in a minute. I'm going to show you some of the other critters first. There we go. I thought this was neat because it's trying to kind of paint a picture of what this whole ecosystem looked like. I talked about how we really only have larger bones there in the quarry wall. That's probably because this was a very swift-moving river that deposited these bones, so anything small and light got swept further downstream. Only the heavier bones were the ones that were, they had enough mass to stay in place and be preserved there. So I think these little bits and bobs are from surrounding areas. They're not from the quarry wall itself, but they give us a lot of context as to what this environment looked like. You've got little pieces of fishes and crocodiles and turtles, and I think even maybe some little mammals here. Insects and plants right here. There you go. Beautiful plant fossils. Plants are extraordinarily important to figuring out what ancient ecosystems looked like. Not only do they tell you what the foliage looked like, but they also give you some really important clues about what the climate was like at the time. I mean, if you have ferns and things like that, it's clear that this was not a tundra environment. So yeah, plants can be incredibly instructive for when you're trying to figure out, what this ecosystem looked like, and the weather patterns were like, ambient temperature, that kind of thing. But yeah, and and there's a bigger map of the quarry. Thank you, Hyro. Maybe I'll use that, but we'll see. I've got a lot to cover here, so my apologies if I don't get to that. And it's from SV Pow. Very cool. Yeah, Matt Wadle and Mike Taylor's blog. And let's see. Oh, very cool, Timber. Very, very cool. Trackway site? That's really neat. Anyway, let's continue on with this. This was a really interesting story. Hoploseuchus. Maybe I'll tell you in a minute. We've got some other land-dwelling creatures. Little tiny guys from this environment, including a sphenodont. This is a relative of modern-day tuataras, which are these really cool... they are the last surviving rhynchocephalians, I think. These guys are not lizards. They are actually their own unique group of reptile. And they are today, critically endangered. They only live in New Zealand, and there's a very small population left. There's a really intensive conservation effort to try and keep these things from slipping away into extinction. They used to be everywhere there on the islands until the introduction of things like rats and dogs and critters like that who will eat their eggs. Their eggs take a very, very long time to hatch, so they're very vulnerable to invasive species. But tuataras are really, really cool. And they used to be much more common during the Mesozoic, during the Age of Dinosaurs. And we have some from Dinosaur National Monument, which is pretty cool. And here's some dinosaur bits and pieces. Nana Tyrannus was talking about Picosaurus a few minutes ago. This is a tail spike of Stegosaurus. This is the pointy end on the back of the tail. Stegosaurus have 4 of these long, sharp spines on the end of the tail, most likely used for defense. And then here's a Stegosaurus plate right there. This is very similar to one of the ones that's actually on the fossil wall, which I hope to show you in a few minutes. And here is a Dryosaurus skull, a little beaked plant-eating dinosaur. And there's a lot of elements from this critter. I think this is one of the smallest dinosaurs we have from the fossil wall at Dinosaur National Monument. And then we've got stuff in the rivers. You've got turtles and such. Fossil turtles, again, very important for providing context to any given fossil assemblage. And then I took a photo with this Apatosaurus skull because it's one of those things where you recognize that this is a really big animal, but you don't recognize, I mean, like, intellectually, you might know, like, oh yeah, Apatosaurus, it's a big dinosaur. Of course it is. But you think of sauropod dinosaurs having very small heads. That skull is still really big. It might be small in proportion to the rest of the animal, but it's a big honkin' skull. And I don't think this is even a particularly large Apatosaurus skull. I think they get significantly bigger than this. Just really cool to see. And I took a photo of the specimen number on it too. This is a cast, so that's a replica of the original skull. I'm guessing the original is probably in the Carnegie Museum in Pittsburgh. But there's a specimen number on the cast, which shows that this is like, you know, it's a research grade specimen. Pretty cool. Again, Apatosaurus, for those of you who might be uninitiated. We actually have some, we might get a herd of them walking through chat in just a minute here, because we have some Apatosaurus emotes. But Apatosaurus used to be known as Brontosaurus until fairly recently. It's kind of your classic long-neck sauropod dinosaur. A little bit more robust than Barosaurus or Diplodocus. But still, even if it's a little bit chunky, still a very graceful, beautiful animal. And, yeah. We have a few elements of it from the quarry wall at Dinosaur National Monument, which is pretty cool. And, let's see. Omega Telic, hey, thank you for the follow. Welcome to Paleontologizing. It's good to have you here. And Claire Burr says, how related to iguanas are they? Tuataras? Tuataras are super distantly related to iguanas. They are not close at all. In fact, actually, let me show you. Let's see. This is a tool that I use quite a bit. And, let's see. Search all life. Tuatara. Sphenodon punctuatus. So there's the Tuatara right there. And we will zoom out to all of life just to give you a sense for where it fits on this grand tree of life here. There it is. We'll go back to it. I know it might look similar to a lizard, but it is definitely not a lizard. This is from a very ancient group of reptiles that split off long before lizards evolved. And so lizards, yeah, are way over here. So this is, it's funny because like there were so many different kinds of like weirdo reptiles closely related to tuataras that lived at the same time as the dinosaurs and before. And all of those went extinct except for tuataras. So that's why you've got tuatara on this big leaf right here, is because you don't have to have like another branch with a bunch of little leaves on it. That's the only one that we have. It's the last living representative of this entire group. Here, tuatara right here on Wikipedia. Genus Sphenodon. And they are the last surviving rhynchocephalians. So they superficially resemble lizards, but they are only distantly related to lizards. And they've got super weird skulls. Just really bizarre. With a third eye at the top of the head. You see that little black spot? Up there at the top of the head there? It actually has photosensitive cells inside of it. And I think it might even have like optic nerves in there. It probably helps them like keep track of the time of day and that kind of thing. I'm not sure why that would evolve in the first place. But it's very different from anything that lizards have. Yeah, really, really cool. Rhynchocephalians. Yeah. That includes only one living species. So anyway. Yeah. A third eye, exactly, lamellar bone. Yeah. In fact, you know, the Wikipedia article might even talk about that a little bit. Let's check. There we go. Let's see. They are also unusual in having a pronounced photoreceptive eye, the third eye, which is thought to have evolved in setting circadian and seasonal cycles. There you go. The parietal eye. It has its own lens, a parietal plug which resembles a cornea, a retina with rod-like structures, and degenerated nerve condition to the brain. The parietal eye is visible only in hatchlings, which have a translucent patch at the top center of the skull. After 4 to 6 months, it becomes covered with opaque scales and pigment. The purpose is unknown, but it may be useful in absorbing ultraviolet rays to produce vitamin D, as well as to determine the light-dark cycles and help with thermoregulation. Of all extant tetrapods, so of all living creatures that have backbones and live on land, every limbed vertebrate animal, out of all of them, the parietal eye is the most pronounced in the Tuatara. Pretty cool. So there you go. Man, in a Dinosaur National Monument stream, I didn't think I was going to be talking about Tuatara, but always happy to talk about these critters. They are so cool. And Chef Thomas is so sad that the last living species is critically endangered. I know. But take heart. I mean, there are some very passionate, very dedicated people who are devoting their lives to keeping this creature from going extinct. If I didn't have other plans for this stream, I would show you some videos about that. But if you're interested in the Tuatara, I encourage you to look it up, and or maybe even try and donate to its conservation.
We didn't come here to find monsters.
Hot Beer, thanks for the follow. Did you come here to find fossils, Hot Beer? Because that's what I'm serving up. Great to see you. Welcome to Paleontologizing. I would really love to be able to grow this channel to the point where, you know, we could do fundraisers every now and again, where I highlight a critically endangered species that has a really cool and interesting fossil history, and then we raise a bunch of money for its conservation. We could do that for the Tuatara, we could do that for the gharial, we could do that for the Indus River dolphin. The list goes on and on. There's so many cool species that I could highlight, and we can try and raise money to contribute to their conservation. I would love to do that in the near future, so we'll see. If I can continue to grow this channel, it's going to be on the docket. Yeah. And Hot Beer says, nice to be here. Looks like you're doing some great stuff. Thanks, Hot Beer. I try. Again, this is not my typical streaming setup. I'm here in Vernal, Utah right now, because I'm on this great big road trip, visiting different sites and trying to stream along the way. So, yeah. Today was Dinosaur National Monument. So let's get back to that. We'll go ahead and delete those tabs. And let's talk about this Allosaurus here. I took a photo from the front because it is kind of an interesting mount. There's something weird going on with the rib cage where it's way too inflated there. They must have had some trouble in mounting the skeleton. But there it is. When you look at it from the side, it looks a lot better. This is Allosaurus, one of the largest and also most common predatory dinosaurs from the Morrison Formation, from the late Jurassic period. This is the guy to watch out for in the late Jurassic of North America and Europe too. In Portugal, they've got Allosaurus from this same time. So yeah, but I took some photos of the mural here too because I love that Dinosaur National Monument is kind of all about context. That's the magical thing about it, is it doesn't just show you, like, here's a mounted dinosaur skeleton, you know, for everybody to ooh and ah. It's also, here's the fossils here in the ground. This is what they looked like when they were discovered. Like, this is how paleontology actually works in the field to a certain extent. And like, so there's that context there, but they also try and provide environmental context to show you this is what this environment would have looked like at the time, to really help you imagine this, to help you picture what this environment was like 149 million years ago, so that you can look at the big fossil wall over here. You can look at all of those bones there, And you can imagine when this is at the bottom of a fast-flowing river. You can imagine the pterosaurs swooping overhead. You can imagine the big conifer trees swaying in the wind. And you can imagine these big sauropod dinosaurs tramping along the shoreline as they're moving from one place to another trying to find food. It's really cool. It's really cool. So anyway, Allosaurus. And I like how the Allosaurus here is reflected not just in the skeleton, but in the mural. And then it kind of brings you into the rest of this mural. The river kind of draws your eye backward, and you can see like a storm approaching over the horizon, and all of these animals going about their daily business. It's pretty cool. Oh, and then here we've got some other dinosaurs here. I wanted to make sure I got a shot of this. They try to show every single dinosaur that we have from Dinosaur National Monument here. So not just the big sauropods, but also big carnivores like Torvosaurus, probably a rival of Allosaurus. We've got Dryosaurus right here, little beaky plant-eating dinosaur. Ceratosaurus, and Diplodocus over there. And I love how they are kind of brightly colored. It's the thing that gets forgotten about dinosaurs a lot. Here's the thing. Let's have some people in chat. Let's do some audience participation. Give me some names of some big animals that we have walking around today. Just name the first one that comes into your mind. What are some of the biggest creatures that we have, either, living on your continent or anywhere here on Earth? Dark Knight says elephant. There you go. Absolutely. Rhino says Dark Knight. Yeah, it's a good one. Ugly Casino says Bigfoot. Okay. Hippopotamus, moose. There you go. Mumius is whale. Whales used to walk around, but they don't anymore. But yeah. Hippo, mammoths, blue whales. Yeah. I was trying to restrict it to land animals, but whales work too. Paddle says mouse. Were you trying to spell moose, or are you being facetious there, Paddle? Giraffe. That's a good one too, yeah. So, and Moose Not Mermy, is this your first time here? Welcome to Paleontologizing. You said, or anywhere on Earth. Okay, I meant on the Earth, like on the land. I should have been more explicit about that, Mayor Space, I'm sorry. But look at that list, rhinos, moose, elephants, hippopotamus. What do all those critters have in common? A, they're mammals, and B, they're not brightly colored. The giraffe would be the animal that's the most brightly colored out of that list, and it's still, like, yellow and brown, They're not particularly vibrant animals. But yeah. What did I miss with the animals? Mr. King, I'm making the point that most animals today that we have walking around are pretty dull colored. They tend to be brown, or gray, or brown, or brownish gray, because they're mammals. Mammals don't have color vision. They don't have particularly good eyesight. It doesn't make any sense for them to be brightly colored. Dinosaurs, on the other hand, we know were very visual animals. A lot of them had all kinds of crazy display features on their heads, or in the case of stegosaurs, on their backs. We know that they had very good eyesight. A lot of them have big orbits, big eye sockets in their skulls. And like their modern descendants, birds, dinosaurs would have had really vibrant color vision. Birds can actually see more colors than we can. They can actually see partway into the ultraviolet spectrum. So birds can see colors that we have no conception of. Have you ever looked at a bird, like maybe a magpie or a starling or a raven or a crow, and you look at those really dark colored feathers, and there's kind of like an iridescent sort of shimmery quality to them, but like it's a blink and you miss it kind of thing. That's you just being able to see the very, very edge of like where those colors start. The like ultraviolet stuff, the iridescent stuff. So dinosaurs would have been able to see that. dinosaurs were not dull-colored animals. We've got no reason to think so. The world of the dinosaurs would have been a very colorful, vibrant, kind of flamboyant place. Look no further than stegosaurs if you want a good example of, like, crazy display features on a dinosaur. And, like, they went through all the trouble of evolving these massive bony plates on their backs just to show off. I mean, really cool. It's really cool to think about. So I really appreciate that in this mural, the dinosaurs are kind of brightly colored. The Diplodocus and the Camarasaurus and these guys, they've got kind of bright patterns on them. It's still a little bit conservative, but, you know, I'm glad that Bob Walters, the guy who painted these, he's making a real effort there to try and make the dinosaurs a little bit more up-to-date, a little bit more realistic. And they're certainly much more brightly colored than some of his older work, which is cool. Anyway, getting back to the quarry wall here. And then, yeah, man, with the Allosaurus here, I love how they made the crests, those little crests above the eyes, the lacrimal crests, kind of a bright red color. It makes perfect sense. This is one of those showy features that these guys evolved to show off with. So it better be brightly colored, you know? But yeah. And let's see here. DFW, Jay Weiss says peacocks have colors? Exactly. I think that's a great example of, like, you know, crazy display features in a modern dinosaur. Extinct dinosaurs, some of them had similar features too, like the plates on a Stegosaurus. If you're trying to figure out, you know, how that animal would have behaved, a peacock might be a good analog for that. It's another creature with crazy display structures on it. So yeah. Hummingbird purple. Exactly, James Gurney. Exactly. Yes. That's what I'm talking about for that iridescence. Murmless says, but there was no color film in the Jurassic, so it was all gray. Sure, yeah. And Mayor Space says, in this mural, Stegosaurus is heading into the storm. So hardcore. Well, so is this Camarasaurus pair, including a baby, so, yeah. But yeah. An interesting high road. Maybe I could check that out after the stream. Yeah. And let's see here. And RB42 says, I like to think they ran in circles like turkeys, but huge.
This is the sound.
Okay. And Michael T. Mayer wants to know, were the Stegosaurus display plates fixed, or could they move them? That's a great question. Let me see if I can find a proper Stegosaurus. I don't know if I'll be able to, so here. There hasn't been a lot of work, to my knowledge, on, like, the potential mobility of stegosaur plates, but they're not really, like, fixed to the rest of the skeleton. They're just kind of floating there in the flesh. And, yeah, it doesn't seem like they have... I don't know this for sure, but I've never heard any evidence that they had, like, strong muscle attachment points, like for flexing the plates back and forth or anything like that. I think they're pretty much fixed in place, like a lot of osteoderms are. But maybe they did have some mobility. I'm not sure. I don't know how you would go about testing that. Making that a testable hypothesis. I guess you would look for some indication that there are strong muscles there for moving the plates. But again, I don't know of any modern animals that have anything like that, so I don't know how you would analogize that to you know, creatures today. It's a great question, and I'm happy to say I don't know the answer yet. It means there's still something out there left to discover about the function of stegosaur plates, and yeah. And Kelly Howlett, thank you for the follow. I appreciate that. Welcome to Paleontologizing. Yeah. So anywho. Yeah. And let's see. And DFW says, how could dinosaurs evolve in ways that they wanted? I thought evolution was all chance. Well, it is, but it's all adapting to local conditions. It's adapting to changing, like your changing environment. That's what evolution is. It's like the offspring that are best suited to their environment are the ones that survive and reproduce the most. So it's not like these animals are consciously thinking about which way they want to evolve. It's just like, which ones survive the best in whatever context they're in, Which genes are the ones that are advantageous as conditions change, or as conditions stay the same. Yeah, so evolution is not directed like that.
It's got nothing to do with oil.
Not in a, like, not in a purposeful kind of way, Yeah. Eldritch Jester, hey, thanks for the follow. Welcome to Paleontologizing. It's good to have you here. But yeah. And Mistrictian says, regarding Stegosaurus, would an animal need to evolve a displaced threat structure? The plates and a clearly offensive thagomizer? The thagomizer is the array of spikes at the end of the tail. Just a random thought. No, you are making sense, Mistrictian, for sure. That's a good question. My thinking is probably that the plates were that's for signaling to other members of the same species, and the spikes are probably meant as a deterrent against predators. I think it may have been more of a passive kind of. Well, I don't know. I don't want to say that, and I don't want to steal somebody else's idea there too. So, I forget I said that actually. But yeah. It's a good question. Like, why would you need two different methods to deter predators? Yeah. Maybe the plates really were like a social display structure to show off to other Stegosaurus, and the spikes were for everybody else. But yeah. Anyway. Let's see here. Close that tab, and there we are. Here is a beautiful skull of Allosaurus. This is the actual, genuine fossil skull there, in this case. Like, this is real fossil bone of Allosaurus. I think this is Allosaurus Jamadsoni. Or actually no, maybe it's not. Maybe it's Allosaurus. I forget. There's several different species of Allosaurus nowadays, and I don't have them. Memorized or in order or anything. But here is the right side of the skull. Here's the back, and I took a picture of this so that you could see the occipital condyle right there. This is the articulation point between the skull and the cervical vertebrae. The neck bones. And it's kind of like almost like a ball and socket joint, except there isn't like a socket on the neck per se. It's just attached via ligaments and everything else. And there's the foramen magnum right there. This is basically like the that's the hole that all of the nerves and everything go through in order to get to the brain. You can think of this kind of like if you've ever put together a computer desk. Some of them, they used to at least, they would come with like a hole in there that you could put all the cords through to get up to your computer to help with cord management. Think about that. This is the equivalent in a dinosaur skull right there. It's just a neat little spot where all the hardware goes through. Pretty cool to see. Yeah. And then you've got all these attachment points for all of these neck muscles along the top of the skull there. Very, very cool. This is a really well-preserved skull. It's pretty impressive. Nerve hole. There you go, Tears of Log. Yes. There's a view of the front. And I thought it was interesting here how the teeth have not been fully prepped out. There's still some matrix right here, some rock that hasn't been removed yet. Probably because if they removed that, it might chip off some pieces of the teeth, and they didn't want to do that. We talk a lot about how to tell a real dinosaur bone from dinosaur bone casts and replicas and sculpts on this channel. And can anybody tell me in chat how you can tell this is a real fossil skull right here?
If they're removed,
pop quiz time. Moemla, thank you for the follow. I appreciate that. I'm glad this content is up to your standards. Thanks for clicking that follow button. Yeah. And let's see here. Solid Sage says lick it. That is, I guess, kind of a clumsy way to tell if something is bone, yeah. Yeah, scratch and sniff? Nope. And RB42 says nothing drilled into it. Yes. And Claire Burr also says glass and armatures. Yeah. So you see how on this, they didn't drill through any of these elements in order to mount it there in place. There is an intricate metal armature that's kind of holding everything. Rather than just rammed through, it's holding it there in place like that. That's how you can tell this is a real fossil bone. You wouldn't bother to do that if you had a cast. You'd just jam a metal rod through it. You can't do that with an actual fossil, at least not anymore. Believe it or not, museums used to do that way back in the day. Not in the 21st century. Certainly not. So yeah. How big is that skull? Asked Prankster fan. Welcome, Prankster. It's big. It's a meter long. Or approaching that almost. Well, no, it's a little bit less than a meter, maybe. It's like this. It's big. I wish they had a proper scale bar there for you. Or even a banana. But yeah. I don't know, it's big. It's not as big as like a Tyrannosaurus skull. But it's big. Oh, and this is what I was talking about too. So everybody, is this a cast or is this an actual fossil? And here's your hint right there. Yeah. Obviously, this is a cast right here. This big cast Allosaurus skeleton. Yeah, because it's got a big metal rod just running through the knee right there, between the tibia and the femur. That dino seems to have had medical implants. There you go, Claire Burt. It's got an artificial knee that keeps it locked in place. Yeah, this I thought was really, really cool too. We were talking about context and how that's really important. This kind of deals with a similar idea too, where these are actual Jurassic Age dinosaur fossils there in the quarry wall. They have open for you to touch. Most museum visitors like to be able to touch stuff. Hands-on exhibits are always fun. And when you can go to a place and touch a real dinosaur fossil, be able to go home, tell your friends like, hey, I got to touch a real dinosaur bone. It was 149 million years old. That's pretty cool. And again, this is all about building a connection with people. Like, kind of an emotional bond with the subject material, so that people remember it, you know? Yeah. We're jumping around a little bit here. But I took some close-ups of some of the dinosaurs in the big Bob Walters mural that I thought were really cool. Examples of bright coloration or stuff like that. Here we have Camptosaurus, this beaky plant-eating dinosaur. I was gonna say, like, smaller plant-eating dinosaur. It is fairly small, I suppose. Maybe approaching medium size for a plant-eating dinosaur. But if you were to see this animal today, you'd be like, that's a big animal. Yeah. I like the stripes on their tails. Yeah. Oops. And there's everyone's very favorite dinosaur, Dryosaurus. Truly the king of dinosaurs. Another small, beaky, plant-eating dinosaur. And I like, not only does it have these cool streaks running down its back, and counter shading, it's got these light patches on its underside. which are kind of a form of simple camouflage. A lot of creatures have counter shading like this. But it also has a little feathery mohawk right here. We don't know whether or not Dryosaurus had that, but, you know, points, I think, go to the artist for thinking outside the box a little bit and taking a little bit of a risk there. We have other ornithopod dinosaurs that seem to have some stuff like this. We've got Tianyu-long, which is like a weird basal genosaur. We still use that term, genosaur? Ceropod, whatever you would call it. Almost like on the line to Marginocephalians.
GGHD TV and their 22 readers want to know what it's like.
Holy cow, thank you for the raid there, everybody. Thank you so much. Let's see. GG Glay TV. How do I say your name properly? Let me know. Anyway, welcome, Raiders, and how was your stream, Gigi? I hope it was great. Welcome to Paleontologizing. I'll introduce myself real quick. My name is Danny Anduza. I'm a dinosaur paleontologist. I'm here on Twitch just trying to do some good old-fashioned science outreach. I'm here in a motel in eastern Utah right now. I am on this great big road trip going all across the American West, visiting different museums and field sites and stuff like that, and doing some live streaming along the way. Today I visited Dinosaur National Monument, and that is what we're talking about on today's stream. I took a whole bunch of photos, since my mobile live streaming rig is on the fritz right now. I'll have that up and running soon, but in the meantime I've been taking photos at these different sites in order to go over them on stream. Do kind of like a fun slideshow kind of deal. And also answering questions from viewers and just generally having a good time. So yeah, I hope you stick around. If you like dinosaurs, then you're in the right place. Gigi, how was your stream? I hope it was really, really good. And thank you for bringing your community here. This is awesome. Background Rage, thanks for the follow. Welcome to Paleontologizing. Yeah.
Really spectacular. Spared no expense.
And
Raptor Rapture gifted GGHD TV a subscription.
Thank you so much, Raptor Rapture.
Gifted a tier 1 sub to GGHD TV.
Much appreciated. That went to a worthy recipient there. Thank you very much. And Jeremus MC, thanks for the follow. Welcome to Paleontologizing. That's Allosaurus right there in that notification, by the way. And we were just talking about Allosaurus at Dinosaur National Monument. This is not Allosaurus. This is Allosaurus. And this is Allosaurus right here. Often called the Lion of the Jurassic. I don't know where that trope started, but it's a big meat-eating dinosaur, one of the biggest from this time. It was, I guess you could say it was the T-Rex of its day. But there's actually more time elapsed between the extinction of Allosaurus and the evolution of T-Rex. Like, T-Rex and Allosaurus are further apart in time than T-Rex is from you. Let that sink in for a minute. It's pretty cool to think about. The age of dinosaurs was so long. You've got more time between Allosaurus and T-Rex than between T-Rex and you. Pretty cool.
Let's be
yeah.
about fossils, because if they're removed, America loses them forever.
LaMiller Bone, thank you so much for the Prime sub. I really appreciate that. Thank you kindly. That support means a lot to me. So thank you. So yeah, anyway. This is this magnificent fossil wall there at Dinosaur National Monument. And, yeah, it is just so cool that this has all been left there in situ, in place, for members of the general public to come and see. I was thinking about this today. You know, I'm on a big road trip right now. I was working on getting my car all set up so that, you know, I could do this big road trip, take it off-road and that kind of thing. And I got some new tires for it. Tires that I can use on-road and off-road. And when I went to do that, you know, back home in Oakland, California, you know, after the tires are put on, I go to pay in the office, and for some reason, I told the lady at checkout that, I needed some off-road tires, because I'm a paleontologist. I'm going to be out doing a bunch of stuff this summer. She goes, paleontologist, what's that? I'm like, oh, I study fossils. I actually work on dinosaurs. She goes, dinosaurs? Wait, so they're real? And you would be surprised at the number of times I hear that. The number of people for whom it's a revelation that, like, yes, dinosaurs were real. They're not just from the movies. They're not a fictional creature. They were real living animals at one point. That's why I think this is so important. That's why this is so important for the general public to be able to see dinosaur fossils there in the ground, you know? Because it's so much more real. It feels more real. It feels more immediate than... Oh, what's going on? Thank you, Raptor Rapture, for the 5 gift subs. I really appreciate that.
Rapture just changed things with those 5 gift subs.
Raptor Rapture, thank you very much. Appreciate it. Yeah, anyway, when you have dinosaur fossils in the ground right there, something clicks, I think, in the mind of your, average Joe. It's like, this isn't a skeleton in a museum. This is not a replica. This is not something that's been put together to show off. Those are naturally occurring bones right there in the ground. These are the remains of animals that lived long, long ago. And there they are. Not cleaned up, not polished, not, put in some pose in order to make it more interesting to you. It's just, there they are, And holy cow, thank you so much, Claire Burr, for the 1,000 bits. Thank you, Claire. Holy cow. Got us started with a hype train here. Thank you very much, Claire. Holy moly. I tell you, if we get to a level 5 hype train, I will play you some ukulele songs live about dinosaurs. But yeah, eat something filling tonight, says Claire. I will. Thank you. I can afford it now. Green Panther says you ain't getting my bits. Okay. Silent Crucifixion. Holy cow. Thank you for those 5 gift subs. That is really wonderful. I really appreciate that. Could you hear the sound in that notification, by the way? It was talking about how in all the world there are fewer than 40 full-time dinosaur paleontologists. Nowadays that number is a lot higher. But that was true back in the late 1980s. Yeah. They really want that ukulele? I guess so, Hyro. I guess so. Thank you again, Silent Crucifixion. That means a lot to me. But anyway, speaking of this, I got to talk with one of the rangers there at Dinosaur National Monument for a while. Her name was Tiff. She's really, really cool. And yeah, I actually went up to her and I said, "Hey, do you know if Rebecca is in today?" And Clairbird, thank you for the 200 bits. Much appreciated. Yeah. Yeah, I went up to her and I said, "Hey, do you know if Rebecca is going to be in today? Rebecca Hunt Foster, who's the park paleontologist at Dinosaur National Monument." We actually interviewed her a couple months ago, live on Twitch. It was really cool. Rebecca's an awesome person, and I don't know, she's a great example of good, a scientist who does really good outreach. And thank you again, Claire, for those. Really appreciate that. 300 tasty, tasty bits. I'm gonna eat tonight. Anyway, so I said, "Hey, do you know if Rebecca's gonna be in today?" And this ranger, Tiff, she said, "I don't know, but let me text her real quick, and we'll see if we can get hold of her." And so she did, and then we got to talking. She says, "How do you know Rebecca?" I said, "Oh, I'm a paleontologist too. I work on dinosaur functional morphology," and so we just got started talking about about dinosaurs, about interacting with the public, and about doing science outreach. And so it was cool to be able to kind of pick her brain for a while, to talk to a Dinosaur National Monument park ranger about the questions that she gets most frequently, and the most bizarre questions that she gets from visitors. Does anybody have an idea what the most common question is that she gets? I couldn't guess what it is, but I wonder if anybody in chat. Think about it. It makes sense. Yeah. And Kate Bots. Kate Bots asks, people don't assume you're a paleontologist based on the way you look. Sometimes they do, Kate Bots, and I had another interaction today that I will tell you about where that happened. But I'm not going to tell that story yet. Let me tell this story first. And what do dinosaurs taste like? No. She does get that question, like I do too, a lot. And Silent Crucifixion says, are dinos real? She does get that question too, every day, she says. But it's not the most common question. I shouldn't have framed it like this, because it's going to be such a letdown. It's not an interesting question. But yeah. Let's see. And Hyro, that's another one that she gets. We talked about that for a while too. But that's not the most common question. It's so much more mundane than that. Green Panthera has got it. Green Panthera. Slow Citizen Kane clap for you. Yes. They ask where the bathroom is. Where's the bathroom is the most common question that she gets. But other very common questions are, why did all these dinosaurs die in the same place? How many dinosaurs are here? What kind of dinosaurs are they? Do we have T-Rex? Do we have Triceratops? Do we have Velociraptor here? And she says she hates having to tell people, no, these are Jurassic Age dinosaurs. We don't have any of those three. She just hates people's frowns when that happens.
If they're removed, America
and Kerberos96, thank you.
Just subscribe.
Thanks for the Prime. I really appreciate that. Thank you very, very much. By the way, if anybody's watching right now and you might be like kind of new to Twitch or don't know about Prime subs yet, a Prime sub is where if you have Amazon Prime, if you pay for that service, you get one free Twitch subscription every month. And so if you could throw it my way, I'd really appreciate that. I have a little thing on the, I think in the panels on the About page. If you just scroll down, you'll see like an Amazon logo. And there's some instructions there if you click it on how to link that with your Prime account and all that. So, Claybirth, thank you for those 500 bits. I really appreciate that. Well, we are almost to a level 5 hype train here. I will play you some ukulele songs, everybody, if we can get to 100% there. That's my threshold for that. I don't give those songs away cheaply. But yeah, anyway. But Tiff was telling me that she does get that question a lot. Like, wait, so dinosaurs are actually real then? She told me a story. She said that a couple years ago, there was like an older gentleman, like maybe in his 70s or 80s or even 90s, who was from Hawaii. And yeah, he was kind of like quietly walking through, looking at everything, and he had like kind of a puzzled look on his face. And I think she walked up to him and said like, hey, is there any questions I can answer for you? Anything I can do for you? And he asked her, wait, so these are real then? Like dinosaurs are real? And I guess he was from the island of Kauai, where Jurassic Park was filmed, and he was involved with the filming of that movie. And, you know, I'm sure he'd seen the film and probably enjoyed it, made a big impression on him, but he thought it was all Hollywood magic, you know? He never dreamed that these animals were actually real. And she said, well, yeah, you know, go and look for yourself. Go and touch the bones. You know, experience this. You know, and he did. And she said that he went and he sat down and he just stared up in awe at this vast wall with all these dinosaur fossils there. And she said that he had tears streaming down his face. Just from sheer wonderment.
People need to know more about dinosaurs.
And the realization that, like, the world was a larger, more interesting, more vibrant more fascinating place than he ever dreamed of. And it was far older than he ever dreamed of, too. So he basically had, like, a spiritual experience right there next to the fossil wall at Dinosaur National Monument. And that just warmed my heart to hear that. It's a beautiful story. That is the power and magic of Dinosaur National Monument. Just... there it is, you know? Holy cow, Clairebird, thank you. I need to put feathers on the Dromaeosaur. That was a commercial from, like, the late 90s, Clairebird. You're right that the Dromaeosaur needs feathers. Absolutely, yes. I also don't know if they'd be that good at basketball. But we're almost there. We've got a minute left. Can we get to a level 5 here? We can. Kerberos, thank you so much. Holy cow. Put us way over the top there. Thank you so much, Kerberos. Holy moly. That support means so much to me. Thank you.
Kerberos96 just gifted 5 subs.
That's incredible. Thank you so much, Kerberos. Holy cow. Thank you for supporting Science Outreach here on Twitch. That's stellar. Thank you. So yeah. And Yogurt Garrel, thank you for the 100 bits. I'm glad you guys like that notification. I thought it was fun. But yeah. Let's see here. But yeah. And Ungato Dormiendo says, it's so depressing to hear about things like that, to know that so many people live in a black hole of ignorance about the world that they live in. I mean, that's really most people. It really is. Just think that was everybody until very recently. We've only known about dinosaurs for, like, you know, the word dinosaur was only coined in 1842. Like, almost everyone who's ever lived didn't know about dinosaurs. You know? George Washington didn't know about dinosaurs. Isn't that crazy? I prefer to look at it as, like, as more of a positive thing. Like, this is what we're able to discover through the tools that science provides us. Through this process of science. These are the wondrous things that we can learn and then you know, share with everybody else. And there are a lot of people who, you know, just haven't been reached yet, you know? For whatever reason. Like that older gentleman there. I mean, but the fact that he was able to visit this place and have that experience, that's a wonderful thing. And again, I have no illusions that I could match anything like that doing what I do here on Twitch. But that's what I'm striving for, you know? That's the kind of thing that I'm working toward. I'm trying to, in some small way, get people to look at the world around them in a different way, you know? To experience that same wonder and joy that scientists feel when we look at the world around us, you know? So yeah. I hope that makes sense. I'm rambling here. But yeah. And, alright, scrolling down through chat. Michael T. Mayer wants to know, is the fossil wall a reconstruction or a piece of a cliff that has been partially excavated? I'll show you. That is also one of the most common questions that Tiff said that she gets. Scroll through here until I find some other photos of the actual wall. There we go. Where's the one where I have the whole thing there? There we go. So this is just a piece of the hill that had a building built over it to protect it, to keep the fossils from eroding any further. But everything you see there has been in place for 149 million years. All the fossils there have been left in place. Those are their original positions. This is not a reconstruction, this is the real thing. Like Yeah, like you just slapped a building over the top of the side of a hill, and then, dug away a little bit to get to that. It used to be that there were paleontologists working on this, during opening hours, all the time. You would see paleontologists kind of clambering up the sides. Let's see if I can find you an image. Yeah, like this. And this was the case until very recently. 1991 is when they stopped actually taking fossils out of there, apparently. But Tiff was telling me that until like a couple years ago, the rangers and paleontologists were able to climb all over the wall in order to point things out. They would have like cool demonstrations. Wait, there's Rebecca Hunt Foster right there. She is the park paleontologist at Dinosaur National Monument. And she is out doing field work in Wyoming right now, so I wasn't able to come say hi to her. But yeah, she's giving a poster presentation entitled Dinosaur National Monument, a geologic paradise in need of researchers. And isn't that true? But yeah, anyway, until very recently, paleontologists could actually go and climb up on the wall there. There's, looks like Matt Wadel up at the top. And who's that in the... It's not Kevin, is it? And there's John Foster there at the bottom in the blue sweater. John Foster is Rebecca Hunt Foster's husband. But yeah. Anyway, so paleontologists used to be able to go up there all the time and do their thing, and now apparently it's been deemed unsafe for like arbitrary reasons. Tiff was expressing some frustration about that, which I totally understand. But yeah, it is, again, this is so important to be able to show something real and unvarnished to the general public. Not something that's been polished, put up on display, and like, look at this thing that's all perfectly arranged. It's like, there it is. There's the fossil wall. These are what these things actually look like in the ground. It just hits different than seeing a mounted dinosaur skeleton, Seeing a dinosaur skeleton stood up in a museum. It makes you feel the context, That's why I think this is so cool. So yeah. Unsafe, exactly, Le Miller Bone, exactly. Yeah, Yogurt Girl says, I'd love to go there one day and see that wall with my own eyes. It's incredible. It really is. Yeah. And let's see. Permafrost fossils, paramedics underground. Hopefully they'll get collected. I don't know. The thing is, if the permafrost thaws, then we're going to have bigger problems. There's a lot of methane trapped in there, which will only accelerate climate change. That's a ticking time bomb right there. So yeah. And Tears of Lux says everything is unsafe. You're right. Yeah. And Operator Aramis, thank you, Claire, for highlighting this, says, is it possible the myths of dragons and behemoths can be from ancient people encountering some skeletal remains? I've got a command about that. Let's see here. So we can type it. There we go. It's possible, yeah. I don't know how likely it is, but there's actually some books about it that you should check out if you're interested in that topic. Yeah. The First Fossil Hunters, and also, which deals with like European and like Western Asian cultures, finding fossils and maybe interpreting them and weaving them into myths and legends. And then there's the book Fossil Legends of the First Americans, about like Native American legends and how they may have possibly been inspired by fossil finds. Both by the same person, folklorist Adrienne Mayer, who's really cool. I've met her before. But yeah. And thank you, Pragmatic Entropy. That's why I made the command, yeah. I get that question a lot. Yeah. But yeah. Anyway, let's get back to our photos here. Let's see. Yeah, here's me in front of the wall right there. Yeah, I had to take some selfies. It's just such a cool place to be. And this is really neat. This, I think, goes to show how Earl Douglas, the paleontologist who established Dinosaur National Monument, one who found the site in the first place, he was all about reaching out to the public. So Earl Douglas discovered dinosaur bones here on August 17th, 1909. Only 5 days later, his journal records the first known visitors to the quarry. Very cool. August 22nd, 1909. Today, 2 loads of people came from Vernal to see the dinosaur, and there were several loads from other places. Vernal is where I am right now. This motel is in Vernal, Utah. It's the nearest, like, decent-sized town to Dinosaur National Monument, on the Utah side, at least. For a time, the rocks that never had the impress of a woman's foot and seldom that of a man's swarmed with people of all ages. Mothers and grandmothers ascended the steep, almost dangerous slopes with babies, and there were men and women well along in years. And that is also the case today. People of all ages flock to Dinosaur National Monument to see this. It's really wonderful. It warms my heart. And yeah, Jen Shore used to be there. Exactly, Timber. Yes. Yeah, he was the park paleontologist before Rebecca Hunt Foster. Yeah, he was there for a long time, and apparently he still lives nearby. I think he retired. And so he's still in the area. I think he lives in Jensen, or maybe Vernal. But yeah. Oh, and this is a kind of faunal list of the different critters that have been found in this particular quarry. Apatosaurus, Barosaurus, Camarasaurus, and Diplodocus, Allosaurus, Ceratosaurus, Torvosaurus, Camptosaurus, Dryosaurus, and Stegosaurus, with Camarasaurus being the most common. And they have this neat little, like, interpretive little book that I got at the quarry. You can pay $1. There's like $1 donation, and then you can get it. But it actually shows a lot of these animals right there. We've got Barosaurus, Apatosaurus, Camarasaurus, Diplodocus, Camptosaurus, Ceratosaurus, Torvosaurus, Allosaurus. So there you are. This beautiful menagerie of different Morrison Formation late Jurassic dinosaurs. Really cool. It really is just like, it's a treasure trove of dinosaurs. It really is. There are a few other places in the Morrison Formation where you have assemblages of dinosaurs like this, but I don't know if any of them really match Dinosaur National Monument. And that particular bone wall for, like, sheer density of density and diversity of dinosaurs. Yeah. Did sound very rhythmic, Kira. How you doing, Kira? Good to see you. And Tears of Luck says, I'm going to have to travel to the U.S. to see all this now. There are so many incredible things to see in this part of the country, Tears. I count my lucky stars that I'm able to go on this really cool road trip and see all of this, and then share it with you, you know? So yeah. Anywho, let's go back through some of these. Over 500 dinosaurs and other animals that lived during the Morrison time period. That's over 500 individual dinosaurs, not dinosaur species. But yeah. Most of the fossils here are from huge dinosaurs. I talked about that. How there's some size sorting going on. Where are the small animals? Yeah, they probably were washed further downstream. This is a point in this river that was pretty high energy. So any smaller bones typically would get carried off. It was only the more massive stuff that made it to this point. I think at the end of this stream, I'll try and go through the wall and I'll try and identify and point out some of the different bones here. And I'm resisting the urge to do that right now, because there are some ones that are just jumping out, shouting, me, look at me, I'm a sauropod femur, I'm a stegosaur humerus. But we'll make them wait for a while. But yeah, again, these signs are... This must have been a real challenge to put together. Because, like, you could write entire books on this. Like, what is the pertinent information that you want people to know? Where do you put it? How do you prioritize it? And they did such a wonderful job with this. I'll just read a little bit from this. It says, "Where you stand today, an ancient river flowed swiftly across a vast plain. Then a long drought killed many dinosaurs. Some dinosaur bodies lay near and in the dry river channel. When extensive rains returned, floods drowned some dinosaurs and swept up carcasses of others that were already dead. The fast-flowing river carried the bones downstream along the river bottom. As floodwaters receded, the river slowed, the bones dropped to the river bottom and began to pile up. They were covered by sand and mud. The result was the dinosaur logjam that you see before you today." And that is exactly what this looks like. Just a massive jumble of different pieces of different dinosaurs. It's beautiful. It's got a kind of like chaotic aesthetic beauty to it that I really appreciate. And was that Chris Beaver? Thank you for the 13 months, Chris Beaver. Holy cow. How are you doing, Chris Beaver? It's great to see you. Hope you're having a great day. And welcome back. Yeah. I was lucky enough to visit Dinosaur National Monument today. And while my live streaming rig is still on the fritz, my encoder died during the stream on Saturday when I was in the Museum of Ancient Life here in Utah. And I've got a new one on order. It should show up tomorrow. And then as soon as I get that, it's off to Wyoming. That thing cost a lot of money. And it's under warranty, the old one. It was defective, it seems, because it overheated when it shouldn't have. But yeah, anyway, I needed to drop a bunch of extra money in order to get a new encoder so I can actually do live streams from museums and stuff. I wasn't able to do that today, so I took a bunch of photos here at Dinosaur National Monument, and we've been going over those. So, yeah. There's a lovely depiction of this floodplain there. Very cool. It reminds me of, like, the Missouri River or the Mississippi River Delta. If you want a good, like, visual shorthand for this environment, you really can't go wrong with those. Yeah. And let's see. And Dark Knight, are you going with the Army Cup? Oh, yeah. The steel cup that I have using as a Faraday cage? Yeah. Maybe I'll show you on a future stream what my my signal booster setup looks like. It's pretty elaborate. But, yeah. It works, though. That's the signal booster part. The rest of the live streaming setup is not working because my encoder got fried. That's what the sub goal is for. Or really, I guess it's that way? Trying to picture where I am on the screen right now. And I think if you're looking at the... Yeah, there's the sign up there. So the sub goal would be down there. Do I have that right? But yeah, that's what your support is paying for. So for everybody who's been supporting me, thank you for that. I really appreciate it. Yeah. And Timber says you should get hold of Lindsay Zano, or try to. I did. Yeah. I asked her about doing fieldwork this summer, and apparently they've got their own issues with logistics and everything, and it just didn't work out this summer. But maybe next summer. Yeah. But yeah. Anyway, let's. Oh yeah, here we go. I wanted to take a shot of this just to kind of show you, give you some sense of height here. This dark shape that you see up here is the floor of the second floor. It's this like metal catwalk right here. So I'm standing basically at the bottom of the fossil wall right here, looking up. And I don't know how high that is. That's got to be a good 60 or 70 feet, I think, at least. This is such a big building and such a big wall. It's really cool. And I wanted to show this to you as well. This is this Bob Walters painting, big mural that he has there, with this lovely Barosaurus. I wasn't sure if it was supposed to be Diplodocus or Barosaurus, but I guess it's Barosaurus. They're very similar dinosaurs. Very long, slender sauropods. Check out the tail on this guy. Just incredibly long. And it just gets so spindly by the very end. That's like more than half of the animal's length is its tail. And this critter is like probably 90 feet long. Like approaching 30 meters. Yeah. Why would they evolve such long tails? And I was thinking about that a lot, and I came up with some hypotheses. I'm going to figure out if I can devise a way to test any of these. Those would be some cool ideas for future papers. But, yeah, crazy long tails on these critters. Got a great question from Gato here. Claire, thank you for highlighting that. Un Gato Durmiendo asks, I've been meaning to ask, what separates the different Mesozoic periods? How is the Triassic distinct from the Jurassic, distinct from the Cretaceous? There's a number of different ways I can answer this. They're different times, for one.
Because if they're removed, America loses them forever.
Operator Aramis, thank you so much for the Prime. I really appreciate that. Welcome to Paleontologizing. Thank you for your support. That's awesome. Let me show you a geologic time period here. I'll show you like the official international chronostratigraphic chart. Pull this up. And here we are from stratigraphy.org. Interactive chart online. So, geologists and paleontologists, we separate different times in Earth history. We give them names and we give them numbers. These numbers here, numerical age MA. MA stands for millions of years ago. GA is billions of years ago. Giga-annum. MA is mega-annum. Mega meaning like 1 million. So, this is where we are today, in the Holocene. And there you go, yeah. From 0.0117 million years ago to the present. This is all the age of mammals right here. This yellow span right here is the Cenozoic. That means recent life. Cenozoic. But then we get into this blue stuff here is the Mesozoic. The Mesozoic era, and that is subdivided into 3 periods. The Triassic, the Jurassic, and the Cretaceous. And these aren't really to scale. I mean, the Cretaceous period, just the Cretaceous, is longer than the entire Cenozoic era. So this is not to scale. Maybe I'll find you an image that is. But yeah, these 3 different periods, they go from 251 million years ago up to 66 million years ago. This is the age of dinosaurs in the Mesozoic. As far as we know, dinosaurs first show up probably around here, like the middle Triassic or maybe even a little earlier. Dinosaurs start off pretty small and then they get bigger, and Dinosaur National Monument is here in the upper Jurassic. Yeah, right about here, 149 million years ago. So, these names, Triassic, Jurassic, and Cretaceous, they're very old names. They come from the 1800s, when geologists were first starting to make sense of all these rock layers, and, develop even a rudimentary understanding of which ones came before other ones, and how old they are, and that kind of thing. But, they're often, different time periods will be punctuated by mass extinction events sometimes. Like in the rock record, you can tell it's you've got all these animals going up until this point, and then BAM! They're all gone at a certain point in the rock layer. That shows a dramatic transition. There's something happened there, a mass extinction. That's the case here at the end of the Cretaceous. All the dinosaurs, all the plesiosaurs, the ammonites, the pterosaurs, various plants, and even some mammals and stuff all go extinct right here at the end of the Cretaceous. So that was a major transition in Earth history. Just BAM! You've got a new order. Things are different from here on out. We now know there was an asteroid that struck and seemed to have caused this mass extinction right at the end of the Cretaceous. But there was a similar extinction at the end of the Jurassic. Not nearly as dramatic, not nearly as many species died out, but it was like a major change. Same with the end of the Triassic. That actually was like a mass extinction. All these different big reptilian critters and like proto-mammalian critters that dinosaurs used to knock around with, all those guys died, and the dinosaurs were left to kind of inherit the Earth there at the end of the Triassic period. So, yeah, and you've got changes in lithology too. Like the rocks actually change because Earth's climate changes, and depositional regimes change and that kind of thing. So there's a lot going into this. There's a lot that differentiates these different time periods from one another. But that's kind of a broad overview of it, and I hope it makes sense. Yeah. So anyway, just to put us in context again, here at the end of the Jurassic, this is the environment that we're looking at Dinosaur National Monument. So yeah. And Sign Kitchen, how are you doing? Welcome back to Paleontologizing. Or rather, welcome to Paleontologizing. Is it your first time here? Everybody, can we get a shout out for Sign Kitchen real quick? Yeah, and thank you for the follow, Sign Kitchen. I appreciate that. Sorry I missed it 2 minutes ago. But Sign Kitchen has a cooking stream, or does cooking streams on their channel. And I apologize if I get this wrong, but I think there are 2 people who run the channel. There's someone, a hearing and a deaf person. So there's a lot of ASL, a lot of sign language going on, a lot of talking back and forth. It's a lot of fun to watch. So yeah. And the first time that I watched Sign Kitchen, I forget what I said, but Sign Kitchen was like, oh, paleontologizing, and they came up with a sign for me right then and there, and it was like, dinosaur, sorry, like, dinosaur apologizing, which I thought was awesome. Nobody's ever made up a sign for me before, so it was an honor, and it's great to have you here, Sign Kitchen. That's funny. I was kind of afraid that people would think that paleontologizing had something to do with apologizing. I was thinking of it much more like taking paleontology and making it a verb, making it something that you do. What are we doing as paleontologists? We're paleontologizing. That was part of it, and also kind of like philosophizing too. Taking philosophy and, so I try and talk a little bit about kind of the philosophy of science and the philosophy of paleontology on this channel. So I thought it was a fitting name. I don't think I do very much apologizing on this stream. At least not in the sorry kind of context. Can't apologizing, like, in a more, like, traditional or old-fashioned context, can't that also mean it's almost like evangelizing or something like that? Which I suppose I'm doing a little bit of here too. Trying to get people interested in science. This is science outreach. So yeah, anyway, we'll get back to Dinosaur National Monument in a minute here. But yeah, Sign Kitchen says, I already love this channel. Thank you, Sign Kitchen. Hopefully the captions are working too. Are they working? I have to check on them sometimes, because sometimes they go on the fritz. Testing. Here it is right here. Let's try some dinosaur names. Diplodocus, Apatosaurus, Allosaurus, Barosaurus. I really love this closed captioner. It is really good. But anyway, we were going over photos from my trip to Dinosaur National Monument today, since my mobile live streaming rig is not working. I'm getting a replacement part tomorrow, so it'll be up and running again. But yeah, looking at this awesome fossil wall here at Dinosaur National Monument, with all of these dinosaur bones there in situ. It's an almost spiritual experience to be able to go there and look at all of these These bones that have been sitting there for 149 million years. And here they are. They haven't been moved in the same place. Really cool. And let's see, we talked about this a little bit, talked about the establishment of Dinosaur National Monument. There's a photo to kind of show you the scale of this building. I don't know if you can see the people down there, but there are little people way down there. This is a huge building.
Anonymous gifted Sign Kitchen a subscription.
Thank you, Anonymous Gifter. Anonymous Gifter, you are as generous as you are mysterious. Thank you very much. Yeah, and there's me taking some goofy selfies. Oh, and I took some close-ups of these scale models here that I thought were really cool. Again, there's the legs of one of the rangers there. He's got his own little, like, enclosed box. So that people can come up and ask him questions, but he doesn't really go out and mingle with anybody. And in this glass display case in front of him, he's got these fleshed-out dinosaur models, which are really cool. I really dig the paint scheme on them. Here is Allosaurus. This is the most prominent of the meat-eating dinosaurs from Dinosaur National Monument. Here's a park ranger for scale. There's Dryosaurus. I really like the bright colors there. Really cool. Dryosaurus, truly the king of the dinosaurs. Was there ever a more regal dinosaur than Dryosaurus? Was there ever a more beloved dinosaur? I'm kidding. Here's Apatosaurus. So big that I can't get it all in one shot. This is the dinosaur formerly known as Brontosaurus. And there's the Stegosaurus right there. I would have made the plates more brightly colored if I were painting this. But that's just me. Yeah. And yeah, long boy indeed, Tears. Exactly, yeah. And there's Camarasaurus right there, the most common dinosaur from Dinosaur National Monument. Lots and lots of pieces of Camarasaurus. There's a beautiful Camarasaurus skull right there on the wall. I might go back to that and show everybody who showed up after the beginning of the stream. Yeah, really cool. I love that there's like just a little dinosaur menagerie here in this display case. So that rather than trying to describe these animals, the rangers can just point to them and go, oh yeah, they look like that. They can show rather than tell, which is important to do. And yeah, there you go. This is, again, just showing you how big this place is. The photo really doesn't give you a good sense of scale. That's a grown man right there, by the way. He's got to be 6 feet tall. This just keeps going and going and going and going. And it's really cool when you look out of these big glass windows at either end. You just see the sweeping landscape going off to the horizon. Just all of these sandstone and limestone bluffs and cliffs and hills and gullies. Stretching way out far. It's beautiful. It's beautiful country. Yeah. And there's the bottom floor there, just to give you some context. There's the fossil wall, and here's some of these interpretive displays. And this is kind of cool. This dinosaur does not actually feature on the wall. I think it's interesting that they chose to talk about it here. Does anybody know about Allosaurus jamadsoni? This very well might be the ancestor of the Allosaurus species that's featured on the wall. This is what, like... I don't know if we have good dates on it yet, if we have good radiometric dates, but I'm guessing it's probably about 5 million years older than the Allosaurus that are on display, like that are on the wall, that are all mixed up with that jumble of bones there. And this is a cast of Allosaurus jamadsoni holotype, I believe. This is the original fossil specimen of this animal. This is a cast. This is a replica of that specimen. And then here's some cool little things that... I don't know if you're supposed to touch them, but people clearly do, because they're... the bronze is a little bit tarnished. But yeah, you've got a hand right here, including that big thumb claw. I actually have a thumb claw of an Allosaurus jamadsoni. Big Al's thumb claw back home in my office. I have a cast of that specimen of Allosaurus. I have a cast of his thumb claw. And, yeah, there you go. You see how many people have touched it that... It might not be bronze, it might actually be resin or something. But it's just, it's been worn away, all the paint on it. And there's that beautiful skull. The outer surface of the skull. Allosaurus jimmadsoni. Named after Jim Madsen, dinosaur researcher, field worker. And Dark Knight wants to know, do you think the tails are so long for balancing? I wonder if the longer the tail, the more movement they have at the head. That's a good question. For sauropod dinosaurs, some of it's definitely balance, but if you use your tail for balance, usually it doesn't become super long and whip-like at the end, which is what it is for these sauropod dinosaurs. Let me show you again. Where is our Barosaurus? Here we go, but that doesn't show you the tail. Where'd it go? Well, okay. This isn't the right perspective. I have another photo from the back end that shows you how long the tail is. This one kind of skews it, so it's difficult to see. Where's the other Barosaurus photo? There it is! Look at how long that tail is. Yeah. Yeah, if your tail is just for balance, you're not going to evolve a super, super long whip-like flexible tail like that. So why did they do that? It's still kind of a mystery. Maybe they used it for defense. We talked about yesterday some research that shows that the tail, the very end of it, may have actually moved at supersonic speeds, like a bullwhip. You know when somebody cracks a whip, like you have that really loud crack or pop sound? That's actually the tip of the whip breaking the sound barrier. That's what creates that sound. And so there's been some research that indicates that these dinosaurs, the diplodocids, they may have been able to do that with their tails. Which would mean that dinosaurs were the first creatures to ever break the sound barrier. Which I think would be really cool if that were true. But I don't know, in a living animal, like having that be part of your body, like putting that much stress on it, I don't know how feasible that is, you know? Because like bullwhips, they wear out. There's a lot of stress that occurs there in a bullwhip. I don't know if you would want to do that with a body part, you know? But I don't know. You should go back and watch the VOD from last night if you want to see a like an actual like mechanical model of a Diplodocus tail. It's like a scale model, like 1/10 scale or something like that, but with all of these articulating parts, and then they crack the end of the tail like a whip, and they have high-speed cameras to record everything, and they confirm that yes, it is breaking the sound barrier, or it would be if it were full size. It's really cool. Yeah, and you can also look it up on YouTube, like dinosaur tail sound barrier or something like that. But yeah. Anyway, and Lamillar Bone says, "Well, that is my mind blown." There you go. That's one of the things about dinosaurs, is that they never cease to astound us. They're just remarkable animals in every way. Yeah, we were talking about Allosaurus jimmadsoni. Yeah, and look at this skull. This is a photo of the skull in the field. Just be still my heart. One of the most beautiful things I've ever seen. I mean, that is absolutely gorgeous. Almost never do you find dinosaur specimens that look this beautiful in the field. Usually they're, broken and compressed and, disarticulated and... But this is something, really beautiful. Yeah. Oh, and here, I took some photos when I left as well, just to give you some context. This is what the building looks like from the outside. Again, gives you a sense of scale. So, this is built to preserve the hillside, preserve that bone wall, keep it from eroding any further. Because erosion is both the best friend and the worst enemy of a dinosaur paleontologist. Because erosion is what lets us actually find the fossils in the first place. That's what exposes them to the surface so that we can see them. But also, it eats away at the fossil once it's exposed. And so I can't tell you the number of times that I have been walking around in the field and I see say a Triceratops skull. And I've gotten to it maybe 50 years too late. Like 50 years before that, it would have been beautiful and like just starting to erode out of the hillside. But you know, you find it too late and it's just exploded. Just pieces of it going everywhere. And it would be like a jigsaw puzzle if all of the pieces had been left out in the rain for 50 years. And just crumble to dust. It's always heartbreaking when you see that kind of thing. But it happens a lot. That's erosion for you, you know? Paleontologists, we live by erosion, we die by erosion. In this case, they have built this magnificent structure in order to help protect against erosion, to preserve this for future generations, so that people can see the bones there in the rock. You know, normally we take dinosaur fossils out of the rock, we clean them, we prepare them, we either put them into collections or we put them on display for the public to see. In this case, they left it in the ground for the public to see. It's really unique and really cool. I think this is one of the few places in the world, this might be the only place in the world, where you have in situ dinosaurs. Dinosaurs still in place in the ground on that grand a scale. It's open for the public to see. It's incredible. Yeah. If this were outside of the US, it would be a World Heritage Site. Do we have World Heritage Sites here in the States? I don't think we do. I think it's exclusively a non-US thing. And Jaw says, where is that place at? It is outside of Jensen, Utah. I'm here in Vernal, Utah right now. I'm streaming from a motel. Way far away from home right now. I visited this today, because it's about 15 miles away. Yeah. Really cool place. It's just magical. Here's a little tram that takes you from the parking lot up the hill. And then I didn't realize you can actually walk to the quarry, to the visitor center up here, from the parking lot. So I walked back afterward. I went on a really nice hike, saw some of these beautiful landscapes. This is just outside of the visitor center there. And all of these rocks contain both remarkable geology and also fossils too. There's a bunch of dinosaur bone fragments that I saw as I was walking along here, and some of them are just like on the trail. Dinosaur fossils are that common in this area that you just see fragments of them everywhere. I wasn't even looking all that hard, but still my paleontologist eye could kind of pick them out. Yeah, there's some plants that I wanted to identify, and really cool little buggo I also was able to ID, which is really cool. Yeah, look at that. This is a striped bee fly, I think it was what it was called. Yeah, and there's one of those dinosaur bones. It's a fragment of a bone just, jutting out of the side of a rock there. And then here's me taking a rest under one of these rocks. Yeah. Beautiful banded sandstone right there. You can see the different layers. Just gorgeous. I mean, on an intellectual level, you always understand that rocks represent a lot of time, but being able to see individual layers in there really hammers that home. It's like reading pages in a book, kind of watch the progression. It's so cool. So yeah. And then What else did I want to show off? I think I've talked about most of the stories that I wanted to discuss. Oh, this is really cool. A sauropod femur bone, a cast of one, used as a bench. I made sure to go sit down on this just to say that I did. But this is there in the Quarry Visitor Center. So you can go and sit down on a dinosaur bone. I don't think this is... It's got to be a cast, right? It's not the original. But there are some original sauropod femurs that you can go up and touch, which is really cool. Again, I think it's really important for members of the general public to be able to touch actual, genuine fossils. You're forming a connection there. Like, that's something memorable. That's something that will stick with you. Being able to tell your friends or your family, I touched a real dinosaur bone, 149 million years old. I think that's really important, you know? Hands-on stuff like that. It's tremendously valuable. You take a nap on the Blue Walker, on the sauropod femur. Yeah, femur bench. Yeah, right, lamellar bone? Isn't that cool? Again, just like in the human body, lamellar bone, you know this, obviously, because you're an osteologist. The femur is the largest bone in our body. It's also the largest bone in any given dinosaur's body. I think with maybe a couple of exceptions. Well, birds. Birds would be a great exception to that. I think a lot of birds have very tiny femurs. But yeah, generally, if you're looking at a dinosaur skeleton, the femur is the largest bone in the body, both by length and by mass, and often by circumference as well. There's some dinosaurs that certainly have longer skulls than they have femurs, but the skull is made up of a bunch of smaller bones. It's not just one bone, you know? But yeah. And... Oh, is Rocket Sage here? Rocket Sage, how are you doing? Rocket Sage, I just got back from Dinosaur National Monument, where I saw some, not just amazing dinosaurs, but some amazing lithology, too. Holy cow. Everything from, like, terrestrial fluvial sandstones to, like, shallow marine shales. And I think there are even some aeolian deposits here and there outside. Let me show you the landscape here. Just gorgeous. This is outside of Jensen, Utah. You probably know this already, Sage. But, yeah. Just these landscapes. Just gorgeous. And the amount of tilting that took place here, too, is just really cool to see. These anticlines. Very, very cool. Thank you for the follow, whoever that was. But yeah. You're drooling over those? I know, right, Sage? I so wish I could have done a live stream, from outside here. It would have been really, really cool. But they have you stay on designated paths, because this is within a national monument. And there's just bits of dinosaur bones spilling out everywhere. Well, not spilling out. The rocks are much tougher than that. It's not like in the Hell Creek, where you find, like, splashes of dinosaur bone, where, like, stuff literally is just crumbling down. Here, it's coming out of this really hard, probably very ferrous sandstone. But yeah. Really cool. I would have taken more photos of the outdoors as well, but it was hot around 1 p.m. today, and my phone, the camera stopped working after a while. It did that thing where it says, like, phone is overheated. Some system functions may not work. So I had to put it in my bag with my ice water. Yeah. And Tears says that landscape is so alien to me. I feel so at home in places like this with the amount of fieldwork that I've done in Montana. This does look different from a lot of Montana landscapes. I mean, the rocks are different colors. The foliage is different, like these scrubby plants that you have. We've got different species up higher north, because it gets colder up there in Montana than it does in this part of Utah, as far as I know. But yeah, I don't know. I'm in my element. when I'm in this kind of environment, you know? I was thinking about that, like how much I miss field work as I was doing this short little hike. Just like hearing the buzzing flies, feeling the sun on the back of my arms, listening to the, the crunch under my boots as I would walk over different kinds of rocks. I miss that, I miss it. Next summer, I'm going to be doing a lot of field work, I hope. Once hopefully, COVID will be a thing of the past at that point, at least here in the States. But I guess that's up to all those folks who are waffling about vaccination right now. We can get them on board, we can open back up again. Things can go back to normal. I don't know. Anyway. Paul Wing's art, I might be going to Fruta, to the Dinosaur Journey Museum. I still have to figure out exactly where I'm going to be on the return trip. But if I'm going to be in Fruta, it's going to be toward the beginning of August. Yeah. Dougie Fresh says, really love this discussion on the pics. Thanks, Dougie Fresh. Yeah, this was really cool. A passerby took some photos of me. They saw me sitting under here and taking a selfie, and they're like, let me take some photos of you. And I said, okay, yeah. But here's a funny thing too. I can tell you this story now. Hatebots, are you still here? I'll give you a second to respond, because this story pertains to something you were talking about. And holy cow, Fox Comedy! Thank you for the raid, Fox Comedy. Welcome to Paleontologizing. How are you doing? How was your stream, Fox Comedy? I hope it was really, really good. Welcome to... This might be a little bit of a change of pace. But my name is Danny Anduza. I'm a dinosaur paleontologist. I'm here on Twitch trying to do some good old-fashioned science outreach. Talking about my research, my colleagues' research, talking about fossil news, and, taking questions and giving answers to people who join us here in chat. I'm currently streaming to you from a motel in Vernal, Utah. Way far away from home. I live on the West Coast, Oakland, California. But right now, I am embarked on this great big road trip going through the American West, visiting different dinosaur museums and field sites and that sort of thing, and streaming along the way. My IRL mobile livestream rig is on the fritz right now. I'm waiting for a new encoder that should be showing up tomorrow, and then I can start doing more streams from inside museums and stuff. But for the time being, I've been taking photos at my various destinations and then sharing those during these broadcasts. So I visited Dinosaur National Monument today, and I've been sharing some of the photos that I took to give you kind of like a previously recorded road trip or live stream. I mean, there's this remarkable fossil wall behind me here, with all of these dinosaur bones in situ, just up there on this wall. For 149 million years, they have sat there. And they are still in the same place. And if you go here, you can see these, and you can touch some of them. It's really cool. You get like a hands-on experience with Jurassic Age dinosaur fossils. It's a truly magical place. It's something special for sure. So yeah. Anyway, let me see. Yeah, Fox Comedy, how was your stream, by the way? I hope it was really, really good. I'm glad you could bring your community here. Yeah. Dark Knight wants to know, why does the platypus exist? Because it hasn't gone extinct? I don't know. What do you mean? Might be a question for another time. You generally don't understand that creature? There used to be a lot more like it. It's like the last living representative of its group. There used to be other platypus-like creatures, like a whole bunch of them. And now the platypus, we think of it being really weird and strange because all of its relatives are dead. But there used to be a whole bunch of, they used to be a run-of-the-mill kind of animal. There used to be a bunch of others like it. And now that's the only one left. So yeah. And they are monotremes, that's right. Temporary phase, yes. And Fiona212 says he's melting in Ireland heat. We attempted to give him ideas to cool off. Oh. Well, Fox Comedy, I hope you are nice and cool right now. Yeah, I hear you've been having some crazy weather in that part of the world. There's floods in Belgium, there's heat waves in the UK, and in Ireland. Yeah, it's climate change for you. But yeah. Fox Comedy says, it was fun, but thankfully dinosaur facts cool me off more than anything. Well, you are in the right place, Fox Comedy. Holy cow. Welcome. Here, before I get on with this story that I was going to tell, let me show you a few other things that I may have skipped real quick. Some other photos from here. This was cool. I like how some of these displays that they have here are a little bit, they're not directly pertinent to the dinosaurs behind on the fossil wall, but they are from nearby. Here's Abdiosaurus. This is a fairly new sauropod dinosaur, and the remarkable thing about this is it's got a skull! Normally, these long-necked dinosaurs, their skulls are extraordinarily rare, to the point where sometimes dinosaur paleontologists, we make jokes and we're like, oh yeah, those guys, I don't know, maybe headlessness was an evolved characteristic. Maybe they didn't have heads. Because for the vast majority of these sauropod dinosaurs, from around the world, we've never found a skull from them. We think they had skulls, like all other dinosaurs, but we just haven't found them yet. The skull is like the smallest, maybe most delicate part of the whole skeleton, and so it makes sense that that would be the part that's, you know, least frequently preserved. And in this case, they have one there. This is a cast of the original, the holotype skull. And who is that?
This is Laura Dern of
Dark Knight 404, thank you for the 4 months. I appreciate that.
It takes months or years, so leave it to the professionals.
And Boom Stickery, thank you for the follow. Appreciate that. And Fiona212.
That trunk is completely covered with thin bony
Thanks
plates.
for that follow. Welcome to Paleontologizing. Yeah. And thank you, Birdie1867. Thanks for clicking that button, Birdie. Yeah. So anyway, yeah, Abdiosaurus, this is cool to see. A new giant. This is from much newer in both senses than the dinosaurs on the wall.
Big fella, isn't he? 70 feet long.
New to science, I love that. But yeah, at 105 million years old, this is like 45 million years younger than the other dinosaurs at Dinosaur National Monument. Yeah. Oh, and here's something cool to show you. Again, there's this mural, these dinosaurs, and then, oops, there it is. We've got a mural here of an Allosaurus chowing down on a poor baby Stegosaurus. That was clearly a bad day for that Stegosaurus, but we got very lucky in the sense that there are baby Stegosaurus bones on the fossil wall. These actually were dug out. They were too important to leave in place. And so these, I don't know where they're currently being housed, but they're extraordinarily important. These are replicas right here of the actual bones. Yeah, just adorable baby Stegosaurus. And hopefully you can see, hopefully the screen isn't too small, you can see the silhouette of the animal. This is all like plexiglass, a silhouette of the critter with the bones there. We've got a really nice ilium, we've got a femur, thigh bone, tibia, fibula, humerus, ulna and radius. We've got a scap on this side, a scapula, and some ribs. Baby dinosaurs like this they're really rare in certain formations. And we're super lucky that this was here. This is the most complete, like, baby Stegosaurus that's been found anywhere in the world, to my knowledge. And it's right here at Dinosaur National Monument. Really cool. Young Stegosaurus, there you go. Oh, and the ranger that I was talking to, shout out to Tiff. She is super cool, and it was great to be able to talk to her for a while. But she was talking about this sign right here, and how there's some information on this that is now outdated. And she says she has been trying to get them to change this for a while. They like have the new text written out, they have it designed and everything. They just don't have the money to get a new one printed up. It's going to be about $500, and they just don't have the money to do that. For a few years now, apparently, and she's been trying to get it changed, and they don't have the dough. And the part of it that is inaccurate now is right here. It says, paleontologists found no signs of backplates or spikes. We don't know why. Perhaps young Stegosaurus didn't have them. Or maybe we just didn't find them. We need more discoveries to find out. Since this was written, more discoveries have been made. And yeah, they do have those. Juvenile Stegosaurus, baby Stegosaurus, they do have spikes and they do have plates. So yeah, that part needs to be changed. There are thousands of people every year who read this sign, and they're getting bad information, or out-of-date information. And at another institution, maybe that wouldn't be such a big deal, but this is Dinosaur National Monument. They are supposed to be up-to-date on their science, everything is supposed to be accurate, they have a paleontologist on staff, and so they just need the money to be able to change this. And I was thinking, I'm gonna run an idea by you, chat, real quick. Tell me what you think of this. Next summer, I would really like to be able to do more streams like this, do live streams from Dinosaur National Monument. I think it would be really cool to have a fundraiser live on stream where we could raise the money to get that sign changed. I think that would be really neat. And I'd kick in some of my own money too. I feel like not only would we be doing science outreach and answering questions and providing good science content, but also be making a real difference at a really cool place like that. I just have to see if it's possible to earmark funds for something like that. So that it doesn't go to the general fund, it goes to that sign specifically, getting that updated. I think that would be really cool. What do you think, everybody? Let me know if you like that idea. Or let me know if you think I'm crazy. They're both valid responses. And, Tier says it's a great idea. Linux Physics says that's a great idea. LaMiller Bone says let's do it. GoFundMe page says Linux Physics. We could do that, yeah. Maybe next year I'll get in contact with Tiff and I'll talk to Rebecca Hunt Foster too. And we'll see about making that happen. I think that would be really cool. Again, I probably need to grow this community a little bit more before we can raise that kind of dough. But I don't know. I feel like we're doing a pretty good job at growing so far. So, yeah. Dark Knight likes it? Yeah, Kamina. Awesome, yeah. And Maximus Osiris, welcome, by the way. It's good to have you here. Says, yes, we shall. Like your attitude there, Maximus. Yeah. And Dread Pirate Robert says, what are we talking about raising funds for? I'll show you. For this. It's something small, but this sign needs to be replaced at Dinosaur National Monument because this part right here is no longer accurate. In fact, a lot has been found out about juvenile stegosaurs in the time since this was written, so this whole thing could be updated. Tiff, one of the rangers there, was telling me they need about $500 to get this replaced. And I bet you in a year's time, we'd be able to swing that pretty easily with fewer donations. I think that would be really cool. So yeah. If everybody kicks in a few dollars, I think we could do that in no time. Next year, once this channel has grown even further. So yeah. I think that would be really neat. We could easily do that, says Dread Pirate. I hope so, yeah. You could do it tomorrow, says Nelly. I could, but I don't know. I need to talk to some people first, and I've got other stuff going on tomorrow. Yeah. And, let's see. Tiger Lover Cat, thanks for the follow. Welcome to Paleontologizing. 136 people at $3 a person. There you go, Dread Pirate. Yeah. It's very doable, I think. But first, I actually have to get in contact with people there, make sure there's no red tape or anything, make sure that it's like all this is kosher before we do anything like that, because there's going to be some federal bureaucracy there probably, so if I can find a way to navigate that, then we can make it happen. So yeah, hopefully next summer we can do that. Could we just Sharpie in the correct information? So this is what I was asking. So I've been involved with designing and writing and printing placards for museums before. Informational plaques. And I don't know, museums that I've worked at, we've done it pretty cheaply. But there, I mean, there are probably tens of thousands of people who are touching this every single year. And so they need it to be really sturdy. It needs to be UV resistant. I'm sure there's a lot of stuff a lot of boxes that they need to tick. So it's a little bit more expensive than I'm used to. But hopefully not too expensive that we can't, help them fix it. Who needs permission? Just chisel it in. Tears. Yeah, wish we could. But yeah. And there you go, Claire. Yeah, it's tough. Anywho. Let me tell everybody a story real quick. We'll go back to this right here. Toward the top. There we go. So as I was... it's like shortly after I took a quick break on the hike back from the quarry. I don't know, I was like taking a selfie under this rock, and then a passerby came over, and she was very kind. She was like, "Can I take that photo for you?" I said, "Yeah, sure." Anyway, I finished up my little break. I drank some water, had a little snack, and then I'm just standing up, putting my hat on, and then I go out, and I'm standing just looking at this big, beautiful rock in front of me. And I hear a voice, a woman's voice, and she says, "Hey, are you a paleontologist?" And I look over and I say, "Yes." "How did you know?" She says, "Well, I don't know. We just look like that, I guess. You know, we get that look when we're looking at rocks." I said, "Are you a paleontologist too?" And she was. It was so cool, like running into another paleontologist there outside of Dinosaur National Monument. Her name is Sophia, and she is doing her undergrad at Montana State right now, which is where I went. She's also working at Museum of the Rockies, where I used to work, and she's working with John Scanella, whom I've done some field work with in the past. She's working on Triceratops ontogeny. So that was super cool to be able to like just run into another paleontologist there. And we talked for a while, and man, it's a small world. So she's on Instagram, and you guys should follow her if you get the chance. Let's see. PaleoSoph, I think, is her handle. Yeah, there we go. And let's see. Close. But yeah, I'll put the link there in chat for you. With a PH, she does, Kate Bots, yes. So yeah, Kate Bots, you were saying, like, you paleontologists, you know, you look like a paleontologist. Well, a fellow paleontologist also thought the same thing. And, yeah, she somehow just knew, like, hey, you're a paleontologist too. So that was so cool, yeah. So anyway, if any of you follow her, if you interact with her at all, say, hey, Danny Anduza sent you. But yeah, she's going to go on to do great things, I'm sure. And again, working on Triceratops ontogeny, that is such an important topic. I mean, we talk about that a lot here on this channel. Ontogeny is like it's a new frontier in dinosaur paleontology. Ontogeny refers to the study of how creatures change through their individual lifespan. So like, a classic example of extreme ontogeny would be like a butterfly, you know, caterpillar, it hatches from an egg, does its thing as a caterpillar, cocoon, butterfly. Those are big changes in ontogeny, like the animal's life history. Dinosaurs also changed a lot as they grew. Not as much as butterflies, but they changed enough so that things that we used to think were different kinds of dinosaur, turns out oftentimes they're just the same dinosaur at different growth stages. Pachycephalosaurus, Tyrannosaurus, Triceratops. These are all examples of dinosaurs where we used to think there were a bunch of different like species or different genera, and it turns out it's actually just the same animal at different growth stages. So that's what Sophia is studying in Triceratops. Triceratops has really extreme ontogeny. Like, I don't know, it changes a lot as it grows and matures. I'll show you an example. And this is also reflected in the chat, actually. The subscriber badges are different ontogomorphs of Triceratops. But here we go. This is a beautiful display at Museum of the Rockies of these different Triceratops specimens. And this is an old photo. This is back when they didn't have as many. But they change a lot as they grow. And there's a lovely image from the Saurian game of different growth stages of Triceratops prorsus. It's the Triceratops from the top of the Hell Creek Formation. The latest Maastrichtium. Yeah, some of these we used to think were different species. There was something like 20 different named species of Triceratops at some point. And now we only recognize, depending on who you ask, like 2 or 3. Some people think there are as many as like 5 with different genera, like Torosaurus and Netoceratops and stuff, but or Tatankaceratops and other ones, but time will tell. Time will tell. But anyway, yeah. And Lamillar Bone says, I wonder if we archaeologists also have a look now? Maybe, I don't know. The thing about you archaeologists, Lamellar, is that there are so much more of you. So many more of you than there are paleontologists. I don't know. We have a much smaller population. So maybe we might not have as much variation in our... Might have less phenotypic variation than archaeologists. But I don't know, yeah. Yeah. Time is keeping its secrets. Yeah, Kate Bots. But yeah. Anyway. Let me go through here again real quick and see if there are any other photos that I really wanted to share with you before I wrap up the stream. This was cool. We've got some children's illustrations of dinosaurs. I love that they put these up on display. That one's just like a coloring book page. But, yeah. Cool. And I love that they have these dinosaurs in silhouette up there. Who are they? I see Camarasaurus. I see probably Barosaurus, Stegosaurus, Camptosaurus. Is that supposed to be Dryosaurus? That's weird. Allosaurus, maybe Torvosaurus. Yeah. And some different artistic interpretations of these different dinosaurs. And what else was really pertinent? That might be about it. If you want, before I wrap this up, give me a type of 4 in the chat if you like this idea. I can go through some of these and try and point out different bones for you. There on the screen. See if I can identify any of these. I can identify a few of them for sure. Yeah, give me a 4 if you like that idea. Yeah, well, we're getting some 4s. Okay. Okay, you've twisted my arm, chat. Let's see. Let me think about this. What's the best way to do this? I think if I open this in a new tab, then I can zoom in a little bit further. And I think if I gesture quickly enough, then it won't do the screen pop-out thing. But, shoot. Anyway, right here, this is really obvious, clear as day. We've got a Stegosaurus dorsal vertebra right there. Stegosaur vertebrae are very, very distinctive. This is one of the vertebrae from the back. I'm guessing this is probably pretty near to the hips. But you've got the vertebral centrum right here. Can you see this, or is it too small? There is the... there's the hole that all the nerves run through, the neural canal. And there's the neural spine and the transverse processes coming off the top. But stegosaur vertebrae are very distinctive. They've got, like, everything... It's just really high up coming off of the centrum. They're really weird like that. So when you find a stegosaur vert in the field, it's like unmistakable. You know that's from a stegosaur. There's some some ribs, presumably also from a stegosaurus. Probably from the same animal. And I think we've got a bunch of different stegosaur parts kind of going off in this direction. I'll see if I can spot them. And hang on a second. Let me see if I can disable the hover zoom thing. 'Cause that's really irritating. Let's see. Extensions. Hover zoom off. There we go. And hopefully that should do it. Yeah, there we go. Okay, nice. All right. Now let's see. So let me think about this a little bit more. So this is a sauropod skeleton right here, pretty obviously. We've got a femur right there. This is probably Camarasaurus, I would guess. Could be Diplodocus, but I don't know. It looks more Camarasaurus-y to me. We've got some caudal verts right here. Probably also from a sauropod. I'm guessing also Camarasaurus. So there's this nice string of vertebrae right there from the tail. And then got some more ribs right there. And look at this. Oh, yeah, definitely Camarasaurus, I think. These are cervical vertebrae. So you've got an articulated neck going up here. Just gorgeous. And then, yeah, another string of vertebrae right here. These are probably from the base of the tail. These look like proximal caudal vertebrae. Also from a sauropod, I would think. Probably Camarasaurus again. Yeah, let's look at some other photos. There we go. Open this in a new tab. And look at that. Ah, we've got a smashed up Stegosaurus right there. Plain as day. Nice string of vertebrae. This right here, this right here is one of the dorsal plates. One of the big showy plates on a Stegosaurus back. That's it right there. That is a big old sauropod vert. One of the cervical verts. You can see that's the vertebral centrum right there. This is the distal end. Yeah, we've got another string of beautiful vertebrae right there. My Shadow, thank you for the sub. Big gift sub there. Really appreciate that. Wonderful. Yeah. Here, let me review chat real quick here. Level 3 helmet. Hey, welcome to Paleontologizing. Yeah. And you're laughing too hard right now? Wait, what? Dread Pirate Robert. And this is not I don't know, the lighting is not great in this photo. We've got another string of vertebrae right there, and right there too. These look like, those might be stegosaur caudals. Well, I can't really tell. Yeah. What would those be? I think these are all stegosaur bits. I mean, they look stegosaurian to me. I don't know. After a while, you just kind of like gain a sense for... It's like recognizing an old friend. You can't quite put your finger on why you recognize somebody. You know, maybe there are some people in the world who have that ability, who can put that to words. You know, like, oh yeah, well the proportion of, you know, the space between their eyes is like 2/3 the distance of like their forehead to the tip of their nose. Like, paleontologists, when we're describing fossils in the scientific literature, we do stuff like that. We talk about measurements, we talk about proportions and that kind of thing. It's tough to like put that to words because you, after looking at fossils like this for a long time, you just gain kind of an intuitive sense for them. And these look very stegosaur-y to me. But yeah. Let's find another one. Let's see. Go back further. This way. Yeah. Here we got some sauropod pieces. Take a look at that. We've got a... Is that sort? It should be. Here we've got a Camarasaurus skull right up there. That's plain as day. I think this... I want to say that's also Camarasaurus. Here, I could try and reference this thing, but it's not... I don't actually know how this works. Let's see. Yeah, this is all Camarasaurus here. I think so, anywho. This is really cool because it's actually articulated. But yeah, down here, we've got some rib pieces. We've got some limb bones there. There is a... That looks like a stegosaur femur to me. Long and thin like that. There's a really nice scap right there, scapula. This looks like a tibia.
Can you share screen?
Oh, shoot. I'm sorry, everybody. Thank you for that. Again, everybody, I am not in my normal environment for streaming. I didn't realize I was on the wrong scene right there. So I apologize. Let's restart this part. We've got a Camarasaurus skull up here. With that nice string of vertebrae coming up from it. We've got what it looks almost kind of thin to be a sauropod element, but I guess this is... Yeah, I guess this is a tib. The fibula is gone. No. Femur, fibula, tibia, metatarsals, and pedal unguals. I don't know if this matches up with this guy, but it might. This might be one of his hind limbs. Camarasaurus. And then down here, you've got all these beautiful elements all scattered around. We've got a scapula right here. What I think... Who's got a curvy femur like that? Is that Barosaurus? It doesn't quite look like a stegosaur femur to me, but I could be wrong. It could be a stegosaur femur. Probably is. I'm not used to seeing them from this angle. Got that nice swoop to them. I think this is probably a stegosaur femur right here. It could be a sauropod femur, though, from that angle. I don't know. Some more vertebrae right there. Caudal verts. And, yeah, look at this beautiful tibia right here. Denver Fowler taught me this, and it's always stuck with me. Tibias are kind of T-shaped. Picture taking this, turning it upright. It kind of goes up, and flares up at the top like a T. Here's the top right here, where it flares out. And they also, like, they go from being, like, broad at this end to really narrow. But if you were to turn it, then it would be broad at this end, and then it narrows. It's a hard shape to describe. I wish I could just, like, show you a tib right here, a tibia. Tibia are really, really important to dinosaur histology because, as far as I know, the tibia is the best bone dissection if you want to figure out how old a dinosaur was when it died, like how many years it had under its belt, how many years it had been alive. The tibia apparently is the bone that has the least amount of remodeling in it. So, as our bones, as we live our lives, our bones are kind of repairing themselves constantly. Cells are dying, new cells are replacing them, that kind of thing. Apparently the tibia is the one that has the most faithful record throughout an animal's life, or throughout a dinosaur's life at least. Has the least amount of restitching together, remodeling. And so it's the best bone dissection if you want to take a good look at the growth rates. Yeah. Beyoncesaurus has curvy femurs. Dread Pirate Roberts. You know who does have curvy femurs? Is Titanosaurs. They kind of like bow out in a weird way. They're kind of like bow-legged sauropod dinosaurs. Yeah. Anyway, some beautiful elements here. Let me show you the one with the stegosaur plates again. Let's see if I can find that. Because that just jumps out at me. Here we go. Image and new tab. This is one of the ones I was discussing when you couldn't see. But right there, kapow! We've got a stegosaur plate. This is probably one of the ones from like above the hips, because they look different as you go down the line from the head, up the back, over the hips, and then down the tail. This is probably one of those ones from, well, it might be nearer the base of the tail actually, or yeah. But yeah, Stegosaurus. We've got some other assorted Stegosaurus pieces up here. Those look like Stegoverts up there, maybe caudalverts in the tail. And that might be a string of Stegosaur dorsals. It's hard to see from this photo. Again, they've got that really distinctive Stegosaur shape to them, which I'll show you in the other image. There's a random sauropod vert thrown in there, just to confuse you. Sauropod cervical vertebra, neck vert. Probably from the base of the neck. But where is my... There it is, that beautiful Stegosaurus vert. Yeah, check that out right there. This right here is a classic Stegosaurus dorsal vertebra. It's got this centrum down low there, and then it just goes way up high to the transverse processes. These kind of wings that come off the sides there. There's the neural spine. I'll show you a Stegosaurus dorsal vertebra. So I'll show you what I mean here. Yeah, look at that. Well, it's so tiny. Sometimes it's really hard to find good images of dinosaur elements here. But there you go. There's the Stegosaurus dorsal vert. So it's got the centrum, kind of what you would call the vertebral body. What is it called in human anatomy? It's funny, in human anatomy, everything's got to have its own special little name. Like as if humans are so different from everything else. Basically, in all of the rest of vertebrata, all other vertebrate animals, like we've got one set of terms, and then for human anatomy, it's completely different words for certain things, because we're just so special as human beings. But yeah, this is the vertebral centrum. That is the neural canal right there. These are the transverse processes coming off the sides. There's that neural spine up top. And here's the zygapophyses here, at the proximal end, the front end of the vertebra. And then here must be the posterior view. Yeah. But like I said, it's got this big, long, sweeping up like that. Very different from other dinosaur vertebrae. Stegosaur verts are they're very peculiar. They're very unique. That's one of the things I like about them. Really interesting anatomy. But yeah. Anyway. What a great quiz wall. I know, right, Claire? Oh, and shoot, this is way off to the side. It's supposed to be... Been looking at this wrong the whole time. I'm sorry, everybody. Missing parts of it. Yeah. Anyway. Some more femurs right there. That's probably Camarasaurus femur, I'm guessing. And there's a tibia right there. I think. It looks like a tib. And there's some cervical vertebrae of a sauropod. These neck vertebrae. You can see these cervical ribs along them. Or cervical chevrons, I guess you could call them too. It's like weird projections that come off of the vertebrae. And here's some long spindly ribs. Including some stegosaur ribs right there by our stegosaur vert. Very cool stuff. Anyway. Let's go through these again, and... Yeah, look at that. Oh, man. Got a very nice femur right there. That could even be an Allosaurus femur. It's hard to tell, like... Well, I don't know. It might be from a smaller sauropod. But all kinds of beautiful elements in here. Look at those. Looks like we've got another scap right here. Another scapula, shoulder blade. Yeah. And there's that skull of the Camarasaurus again. Check that out. One of the most charismatic dinosaur fossils you can have, of course, is a skull. Yeah, just really cool stuff. Just beautiful. Got these scattered caudal verts all around here, tail vertebrae. And you imagine these animals that must have died in this drought. It must have just been, you know, graveyard of dinosaur skeletons. And then everything got kind of size sorted by this fast-moving river. It's really energy-intensive fluvial event where you get all this size sorting that occurs, where the bones tend to be the larger bones. You're not getting tiny little spindly stuff, with a few exceptions. You've got a few little ones in there that were kind of lucky and, I guess, survived the onslaught of the water. But for the most part, these are big elements. These are big bones. And I guess it's one of the reasons why they're so impressive. That's why this is such a cool, exciting place to visit. Dinosaur National Monument. It's pretty amazing. Trying to find a view of the quarry wall. Man. Excuse me. Look at that. Such a magical place. Just wondrous. Wondrous. And did I miss something? Let's see. And Clean Biscuit says some parts of human anatomy are named after discoverers rather than descriptive or functional names. Interesting. And Lamellar Bone says, yeah, it is a vertebral body in humans. Ah. Yeah, we usually use the term vertebral centrum in the anatomy of other vertebrate creatures. Every vertebrate animal except for humans, we call it the vertebral centrum. At least I think that's true. I do wonder for, like, primate osteology. If you're looking at, especially, like, other hominids, like, not just Australopithecines, but also things like gorillas or chimpanzees. Do you say vertebral body or do you say centrum? I wonder. It would be really ridiculous if Homo sapiens is the only species for which we use these terms. But maybe it's not. Maybe those are medicine terms. They're medical terms rather than anatomical terms, per se. I don't know. But yeah. Anyway. And Balint says that's an amazing exhibit. It's so cool to see them in the stone. Exactly. I was talking about that earlier, Balint, how I've done a lot of work in museums before. I've done a lot of talking to the public in museums, and most people are really cool. And most people are there to learn. They're there to just share in the amazement with you. But some people go in there and they're like, this stuff isn't real. They come in with a really cynical... It's like this weird mix of cynicism and naivete. Where you get people who are like, they just think they're above it all, and they're like, dinosaurs, these fossils aren't real. Which of these aren't real bones. They didn't really look like that. Ugh. And you get people like that who come in with like a really snotty attitude. And some of these people go in there just to say like, yeah, I'm smarter than this. Dinosaurs weren't actually real. I don't buy any of that stuff. And people like that will scoff at, you know, a mounted dinosaur skeleton. And they'll ask you like, are these the real fossils? And you go, no, it's a cast. These are replicas. The real ones are downstairs, you know, in the drawers in the collections, you know, where they can be studied, where they can be accessed by researchers. I try and explain it to them like that, and they go like, likely story. And so for those people, it's really important for them to be able to see the actual, unpolished, unprepared, raw dinosaur bones there in the ground, It's much harder for them to say stuff like that, And of course, those people are cynical, and those people they're not coming from a place of, logic, or they didn't reach their conclusions through logic or reason or facts, and so you might not sway them with those things. But there are always people who are kind of in between there. It might be, the wife of that guy who's in there with him, and she's willing to have her mind changed. Might be that person's kids, You can show them the actual dinosaur bones there in the rock and say, yes, this is how they have sat for 149 million years. You can go outside and find more of these on the hiking trails outside the visitor hall. It's really important to be able to do that. It's so cool that we have this tool where we can show people, rather than just telling them, yes, these fossils came from this place and then they were dug up and cleaned. You can actually show them the fossils right there on the wall. There's something really special about that. There's something magical about that, It's pretty neat. So anyway, this has been a long stream, and I gotta go get some dinner and go for a walk. It's getting dark out there, too. So everybody, I think I'm gonna wrap this up pretty soon. You got to see the real Lucy once? That's so cool, the Miller bone. That is so cool. Yeah. But yeah. There you go, Judd Pyre Roberts. Yeah, that's the thing. People don't really think about these things in logical terms, so it's not like any of it has to make sense. It just has to appeal to them on an emotional level. So yeah. Walkie's time, exactly, Patrick Pirate. Yeah. Oh, okay. I will finish up. You're right. Thank you, Claire, for reminding me. The ukulele song. Let's do the Dinosaur March, because it actually has so many of these Morrison dinosaurs right there in the song. So I will finish the broadcast with that. Let me grab my ukulele. Over here. And there we go. I'll pause our tunes, and I will sing what became my students' favorite song this past year. It's called The Dinosaur March. Kind of a classic, I don't know. It's a well-known children's song, I guess, among people who play songs for children, to the tune of a very well-known folk song. You'll recognize it. I made some modifications to this song in order to make it a little bit more paleontologically authentic. And if you're new here, see if you can pick any of those out. The first verse is pretty much... I only made a few changes to it, but it's just like the music teacher at my school played. But then I added a second verse to it. All right, and it goes... Many, many years ago, before the people came, the animals upon the earth, they did not look the same. They lived for 160 million years, but now they are no more. Except for birds. They were the dinosaurs. Excuse me. Messed up the chords there. Here come these Jurassic dinosaurs from the Morrison Formation. Apatosaurus, Diplodocus, Stegosaurus, Allosaurus, Ankylosaurus, and Triceratops, Tyrannosaurus Rex. Messed that up. How did I mess up this song? I played this a million times. But you'll notice that in that list of dinosaurs there, the first ones are from the Morrison Formation, and the second ones are from the Hell Creek Formation. So we've got Jurassic and Cretaceous. We can learn about these awesome beasts by studying their bones. skeletons under the ground that partly turned to stone. We dig them up and we clean them and we raise them off the floor to build a dinosaur. Apatosaurus, Diplodocus, Stegosaurus, Allosaurus. Those are our Morrison dinosaurs right there. All of which you just saw in our Dinosaur National Monument live stream tour of pre-taken photos. Anyway. Ankylosaurus and Triceratops, Tyrannosaurus Rex. All right. Well, thank you everybody for such a wonderful stream. Thank you for that level 5 hype train earlier. Phenomenal. That's why I played the song. Thank you for reminding me to do that, Claire, before I wrapped this up. But yeah. Oh, and Claire versus Melissa in Denial? We can raid Melissa in Denial. That is a phenomenal idea. Let's see. You guys want to get some raid messages all set up for copying and pasting? I don't have those at my disposal right now. I usually just press a button on the stream deck and they show up. But, yeah. And Dougie Fresh, thank you for being here. All right, let's go ahead and raid Melissa in Denial. And, yeah. Everybody, thank you so much for making this such a wonderful stream. I really appreciate your support. I appreciate your fellowship. This has been great. And I'm looking forward to doing more like this in the near future. As I continue on with this road trip. Twitch.tv/in denial.